Wait. Mulan directly opened his mouth and stopped Yunwu. But Cloud Dance didn't give face at all, and kept on walking. Behind him, Mu Xiuming quickly followed. I told you to stop, didn't you hear me? Mu Lin was even more angry, and even forgot to keep his image in front of Huolinger for fear that Yunwu would leave. But he didn't have any persuasion. Seeing that Yunwu was about to leave, Mulan couldn't care about anything else, so he just wanted to rush up and do it. Young master. It's important to finish the task first. Immediately behind him, an entourage came forward to stop Mulan, for fear that he would lose big for small. Mulan stopped and hesitated. The Cloud Dance goes a little further ahead. Mulan gritted his teeth and yelled at the man in front of him, "Get out of here." The roared man trembled, and then was directly kicked out by Mulan. No one dares to stop him anymore. Mulan rushes forward directly. His blue fighting spirit lingers on him. A long sword in his hand stabs at Yunwu's back. The stabbing position is in his heart. As soon as Yunwu's face sank, she knew that Mulan would come to look for trouble, so this time she changed the formation and walked behind, but did not expect that Mulan wanted to kill her directly. This is only the second time that they have met. How dare they kill each other? Cloud Dance's mouth raised a sneer, and she would never show mercy to those who came to die. The purple fighting spirit also lingers on the body. At the moment when the long sword comes, the purple fighting spirit is like hard armor, which directly protects Yunwu. When the long sword with cold light pierced into Yunwu, it sparked with the purple armor. The pupil of Mu Lin suddenly shrinks. I didn't expect that this woman could use her fighting spirit to this point. As soon as Yunwu's hand turned over, Guwu de Geo appeared in the palm, but there was no black flame on it. It seemed that he was deliberately hiding his strength. Yunwu turns around and looks at the person in front of him coldly, with a sneer on the corner of his mouth and amazing eyes. Behind him, Mu Xiuming and others look like watching a good play, but Huolin is looking forward to seeing what kind of people Cloud Dance's strength is. The strength is so weak, still dare to play sneak attack, it is really beyond measure. The voice of Cloud Dance was full of coldness, which made people feel cold and even shiver. Although Mu Lin was shocked, he still kept silent on his face. Looking at Yunwu's eyes, he seemed to eat her. Cloud Dance is too lazy to talk nonsense with him. He raises his Guwu sword, looks at Mulan and says, "Let me teach you, what is strength." Lu Sha tribe. Qi Yi stands on the balcony of Shi Qiaoman's house and looks down. The people of this tribe are simple and unadorned, working and resting in a simple life. But I don't know why, let Qi Night look, people and things in this place always have a very strange feeling. The poison in the body has been almost solved, but the wound in the body is still not thoroughly understood because there is no time to adjust the breath. Throughout the body energy is about to overflow, but some sad in the heart, I don't know whether Tianlei can smoothly hide in the past. Sister Qi. Suddenly, Shi Qiaoman waves at her downstairs, holding a lot of paper bags. Before Qi Yi's reacts to say hello, Shi Qiaoman has already run up with a lot of things. Elder Sister Qi, I bought a lot of delicious food from the market. You haven't eaten well these days. While talking, he put the food on the table and opened it. As soon as the paper bag was opened, the aroma of the food flowed out of the paper bag, which immediately made Qi Yi's appetite open. He came to sit on the stool, picked up the cake on the table and put it in his mouth. The hot cake just came out of the oven, and the entrance was crisp and smooth. Sister Qi, why don't you talk so much? Who are you? Why do you fight with the sand scorpion? Shirkaya Manchuo sits beside Qi Yi's and looks at Qi Yi's with curved eyebrows and pure smile. Qi Yi's listens to Shi Qiaoman's innocent voice around him, but he doesn't answer. He just drinks tea quietly. Ah! Shi Xiaomei. Suddenly, a man ran up from downstairs and waved to Shi Qiaoman. He turned his head to smile at Qi Yi's and said, "This is Miss Qi Yi's. You have just been rescued into our tribe. You have heard your name and haven't had time to see you. I see you today. You are really beautiful." This sounds so strange, Chi Night Color thought in the heart, but light nod on the surface, no longer express what. The man didn't get angry when he saw that Chi's night was so cold. Just said with a smile, then today I will not disturb Miss Chi and Shi Xiaomei's chat. Tomorrow, I will invite Shi Xiaomei to take Miss Chi to my home to sit down, and I will cook for you. Then he waved to them and turned away. The people of our tribe are so hospitable, but I feel that Sister Chi's character is too cold. It will make their enthusiasm suffer greatly. Chi Yis felt sorry for the coldness of her character. If Sister Chi's health is okay, you can go to our tribe. There are many delicious things in our tribe. You can try them. Said, Stone Xiaoman also licked his mouth, eyes full of light, really have a lot of delicious although I am very busy every day, I have no time to taste it. It's a strange feeling. Chi Yis frowned. She looked at Shi Xiaoman in front of her. Why did she feel that Shi Xiaoman's innocent eyes didn't look like the feeling she showed at all? Behind those smiling eyes, I couldn't see a smile. Thank you for your kindness. Chi Night said, holding tea and looking out of the window. Countless people in the street smile, a peaceful. However, Chi Yis felt that these people's feelings were very strange, but it was not strange. Afternoon. Shi Xiaoman leaves again because of something. In order to find out what's wrong with Chi Yis, he goes to the street alone. Oh, isn't that Miss Chi? The woman who makes steamed bread on the street walks over excitedly when she sees Chi Yis and holds Chi Yis' hand. Smiling as if a flower would bloom on her face, it's a coincidence that Miss Chi is here too. Do you want to eat steamed bread or not? All the people from all over the country know that my steamed bread is the best. The 1110th human flesh feast. Chi Yis was a little embarrassed, so she waved her hand, pushed aside her hand and left quickly. Ah, Miss Chi, come and have dinner at my home. My family is just having dinner now. Far away, a man waved to Chi Yis. The sound seemed to be heard all over the street. Chi stood in the street at night, stunned for a long time. This kind of feeling is really strange, but where is it strange? That kind of ready answer, but in the mind, led her helpless. Behind her, a pair of hands suddenly pressed Chi Yis' shoulder, which made her nervous for a while. She grabbed the arm of the person behind her with her backhand, threw the person on the back, and put her finger on the neck of the person. Who are you? Chi Night glared, fingers in the man's neck, pinch out a fingerprint. Ah, that, Miss Chi, I'm from the winery in front of me. I just saw you on the road by yourself. Would you like to have a drink with me? Said, also raised the hand to do a drink the movement. Chi Yis looked at his face carefully and did not know him. But when the man saw her eyes, it was like seeing an old friend he hadn't seen for a long time. He was so enthusiastic that he caught himself by surprise. Zheng Zheng releases the man in front of him. Chi Yis stands up straight and looks around. I finally know where this strange feeling comes from. They are all so enthusiastic. Chi Yis swallowed saliva, holding the snake sword on his waist, shaking. How did this feeling of intimacy even surpass that of her family come about? Chi Yis walked slowly on the street and looked around. The residents around warmly welcomed her and invited her to her home for dinner. Sister Chi. I was suddenly patted on the back. Chi Night suddenly turned his head, snake sword almost directly stabbed past, but saw Shi Xiaoman innocent smile. Chi elder sister, my father said tonight want to invite you to dinner at home. Treat me? Why? Chi Night's side body does not leave a trace of a void. Stone Xiaoman grasped his hand, go forward. Because Sister Chi is a VIP of our tribe, she should be treated with hospitality. VIP? I'm just a prodigal son in a foreign land. When did I become a VIP in need of hospitality? Looking around again, the smiling faces and the greetings made Chi Night frown again. Is it my illusion? Under the leadership of Shi Xiaoman, Chi Yis comes to a very luxurious restaurant, which is located in the middle of the whole tribe, decorated with numerous lanterns and ribbons, which is very magnificent. Sister Chi, this is it. Come in. Shi Qiaoman turns his head and says to Qi Yi's with a smile. That smile, in the dim light, with a faint strange, let Qi Night heart sink, looking at the restaurant. I always feel that there is a faint black air in this restaurant. Come in. On the second floor, a man, smiling, waved to Qi Yi's, turned and disappeared at the window. Qi Yi's lowered his head to meditate, and followed Shi Qiaoman up the stairs. Just entering the room, there was a big round table. There were 12 or 13 people sitting on the table. They all seemed to be good friends of the patriarch. They had a good conversation. As soon as he saw Qi Yi's coming, they all stood up and warmly welcomed Qi Yi's. Without saying a word, they placed Qi Yi's on the main seat. Qi Yi's was a little frightened, but he didn't refuse. It was not until then that Qi Yi's finally understood why he felt that people here were so strange, because there was a sense of death on their faces. Looking at the people around him talking, Qi didn't know much about night, so he sat quietly at the table, picked up chopsticks and picked up the meat from one of the plates. Ah, Miss Qi, let me introduce to you. The name of this dish is yazihua. It's made of meat from hand. It's very chewy. Meat on hand. Qi Yise pai mouth, is to point to the hand of Warcraft. She looked up at the person who had just introduced the dish to her, but saw that person smiling happily. Try it, try it. When people around see Qi Yi's picking up the dishes, they turn the topic to Qi Yi's one by one. They keep putting the dishes on the table into Qi Yi's bowl, and then introduce them to her. It's made of hamstring. It's delicious. We peel off the skin and cook it when we are alive, so the skin is very delicious. Qi Yi's looks at the full bowl of meat and purses her lips tightly. When these people are eating, their eyes are shining, almost crazy, which makes her very uncomfortable. He lowered his head to pick up a piece of meat and put it on his mouth. He was about to open his mouth, but suddenly he felt strange and couldn't help looking up. But I saw people all over the table looking at her without blinking, as if waiting for her to eat, and then comment. But the light in these people's eyes can't help but let Qi Night fight a cold war, put down his chopsticks. What are these things on the body of meat? Doesn't Sister Qi know? Shi Qiaoman blinked his eyes, stood up and walked to Qi Yi's. He suddenly hooked Qi Yi's neck and said with a smile, "These are human flesh." His face turned pale instantly. Qi could not help but cover his mouth and almost vomit out. However, he saw that Shi Qiaoman's face suddenly changed color. Then he raised his hand and cleaved toward his neck. The people all over the table changed their faces and came towards Qi Yi's. Qi Yi's is strangled by Shi Qiaoman, and because of his serious injury, he has no way to resist. He is going to take out his snake sword, but suddenly feels dizzy. This just reaction comes over, Stone Qiaoman strangles on his arm, unexpectedly wiped medicine, whole body a soft, in front of eyes already a pitch black. This woman is too alert. Shi Qiaoman's voice said in his ear. Really, but we can't poison her, otherwise the meat will not be delicious. Such a master, her meat must be very delicious. Qi Night immersed in the dark, a cold heart. As expected, the reason why they are so enthusiastic is that they want to eat their own meat. Suddenly, I felt that my body was lifted up and thrown into a carriage. Then, the carriage walked forward on the bumpy road. Where are you taking me? Qi Night thought, but at this time his eyes can't see, his mouth can't speak, he can only listen quietly with his ears. Until the side of the carriage gradually quieted down, at last, there was only Qi Yi's breathing and the sound of the carriage wheels rolling on the ground. The carriage stopped gradually. Here I am. Suddenly someone called out. This is from Miss Shi. The coachman said that Qi Yi's heard such a sound, and his heart thumped. Is this a drug addiction? Don't worry, it won't affect the quality of the meat. This person's level is very high. If we don't do this, I'm afraid we can't catch her all our life. You tie her up and I'll give her the antidote. The carriage was suddenly pulled apart. Then someone came in and picked up Qi Yi's. After a long road with Echo, Chi Yi's ears were very sensitive to the surrounding movement, but his nose smelled an extremely pungent stench. This is the smell of carrion. The two men tied Chi Yi's hands to the roof and let her immerse herself in the water except her arms and head. The body is immersed into the cold water instantly, let Chi Yi's can't help shivering. The man around him exclaimed, "Ah, this man has something to do with it. It's really a master. This kind of medicine can't fascinate her." Another man raised his hand, knocked her mouth open, and put something in her mouth. In an instant, her senses returned to her. After a trance, she finally became clear. Only dark and humid cells, a single room with a pool, countless people were soaked in the pool. Chi Yi's was shivering with cold. She looked up at the thing that tied her hand. Fortunately, it was the rope. She looked to her side and saw a girl with her head down. Her eyes were black and her skin was pale. She was obviously dead. The two men didn't look at her. They were just talking about the girl. "What can I do?" "Let her die. If you die, you'll die. We'd better follow the normal way. Anyway, they don't have to taste the meat of the dead when it's mixed with the meat of the living." The two men talked calmly about the meat of the living and the dead, but Chi Yi's on one side turned pale and upset. It turns out that this tribe is really a terrible man-made workshop. They all live on human flesh. No wonder everyone's eyebrows are black. He turned his head and watched the girl beside him being lifted out of the water by two men and carried away from the cell. Then the cell door slammed shut. Looking out from the wooden fence, Chi's night is extremely calm. There are many such people around him. I'm afraid they all came here from other places and were bound here. Some people have not died, some people have become corpses, rotten and smelly. The whole cell exudes a particularly bad smell. There are people in the cell constantly patrol. Chi night is very calm, head down, quietly immersed in the water, waiting for those people to come and go. After 3 rounds of inspection, we finally found the law. In other words, these people's inspections are basically conducted once a year. Therefore, Chi Yi's looked up at the rope that was helping her hand and raised an imperceptible smile. Every time, she had time to untie the rope and leave here. With that in mind, there are people in front of us again. Chi Yi's lowered her head in a hurry, pretending that she had fallen asleep. Those people looked in front of Chi Yi's cell, but suddenly opened the cell door. "I say this woman is good, or she'll be the one tonight." "You're stupid. How can this kind of superior goods sell at such a low price?" A man came up and touched Chi Yi's face. Chi Yi's was disgusted and didn't say a word. The man raised Chi Yi's face and looked around. "Ha," he laughed, "but this girl is not as good as us." The man turned his head and looked at his partner with a bad smile, but he didn't see Chi Yi suddenly open his eyes and raise his feet. His feet were covered with purple fighting spirit, and he kicked hard at the man's stomach. If the serious injury is not healed, the forced exercise of martial arts is just like adding insult to injury. Chi Yi's can't bear the fishy sweetness in his mouth. He grabs his rope and kicks another man down. These two people's realm is really too low, let Chi night color don't need much effort at all. But just like this, she still let her blood flow up and frowned. She lifted the man's clothes with her toes, picked out a dagger from the inside and fell into the pool. Foot in the pool will be a dagger clip, over the body with a dagger cut the rope. With a plop, Chi fell into the pool at night. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, Chi Yi's wiped his mouth, stood up from the pool, bent over the man, fumbled for the key and opened the prison door. Quietly came out of the cell, Chi night looking at the countless cells around. "Help me." Suddenly, a weak voice came from not far away. This let Chi night in the heart flash a wave, follow the voice to walk past. I saw a woman hanging in the front cell, pale, but in good spirits. She also looked up and saw Chi Yi's. She suddenly became furious and yelled, "You people who have been killed by thousands of swords have the ability to catch me. You have the ability to say clearly why you want to catch me." Chi Yi's frowned and stood beside the cell, looking at her coldly. are you also caught? The woman is still scolding all the time, not listening to Chi Yi's voice at all. Chi Yi lowered his head, clenched his fist, gritted his teeth and said coldly, I think you're in good spirits. You're not going to run away, are you? The curse came to an abrupt end. Do you mean you were caught, too? The woman looked at Chi Knight, a face of curiosity. Then how do you escape? Do you know what they want to do with us? Looking at Chi Yi suspiciously, when he finally saw that Chi Yi's was all wet, he vomited. Do you know why they want to soak us in the water? Chi Knight see this woman finally quiet down, this just sighed, went forward to open her prison door, put her down, soak in the water, ready to do next wine and vegetables. On hearing this, the woman burst out laughing. This girl is really good at telling jokes. In the deep passage of the tomb, the speed of Cloud Dance is extremely fast, holding the ancient martial arts sword and rushing directly to Mulan. Mulan didn't even have time to respond. He felt a murderous air coming. At that moment, it was like falling into an ice cave. The strong pressure made me gasp. Be careful, young master. Behind him, a crowd of followers panicked. Just when everyone thought that Mulan would die in Yunwu's hands this time, suddenly a white figure rushed forward and stabbed him with a long dagger. When Yunwu's broadsword was about to cut down on Mulan, he stopped the old broadsword. The dagger broke, but Yunwu's attack was invalid. Cloud Dance body a withdraw, a little bit surprised to look at this suddenly appeared man. Just now that hit, she was just a casual attack, and had no power. But at her present state, even if it's a random blow, no one can stop it. If this man can stop it so quickly, then the state is at least in Wu's own. Cloud Dance mouth a hook, flashed a trace of irony in the heart. No wonder Mulan so arrogant want to kill her here, it seems that he thought he had found a master. Miss, why do you have to die? It's not good for you to kill Master Mu here. You've already reached the point of cultivation. There's no need to give up your bright future for a small matter, right? Why don't we take a step back? The man's face was light and cloudless, as if he had just taken Yunwu's move to save Mulan. It was a matter of life, but it was just a small matter when he got to him. Cloud Dance laughed sarcastically, is preparing to speak, the wood repair behind tomorrow morning can't help. Step forward, said, Wuzong Realm. Is the Wuzong Realm powerful? How can you confuse black and white here? Are you blind or deaf? You're not ashamed to talk big? Why don't you step back? To put it bluntly, you think we are easy to bully and come up to fight and kill, and you are ready to withdraw when you find that we can't fight? What a cheap thing. Mu Xiuming doesn't give face at all when he talks. He doesn't know how to deal with it. He is very interested in things that he is forced by others, and he is always able to say that the other party is speechless, especially when dealing with such people who are not consistent in appearance and have a roundabout speech. Mu Xiuming's straightforwardness is often able to hit each other's face, this time of course is no exception. The man was said to have a wonderful expression on his face and a stoic anger in his eyes, but he didn't dare to do anything because of his taboo to the strength of Cloud Dance. What are you talking about? We're afraid of you. What a joke. When did I say the word fear? When Mu Lin listens to Mu Xiuming's words, he has no time to think about why the men around him have to be patient. Even completely forget their own before forced by the pressure of Cloud Dance and the whole body stiff things, directly blow beard, staring up scold, I think you are timid. We are kind enough to let you go, but you are so ungrateful. Yunwu looked at him with a sneer and suddenly called out in a low voice, Master Mu. As soon as he was stiff, Mulan looked at Yunwu, Dry, what are you doing? The Cloud dances the corner of the mouth to smile, as if did not put the attitude that just in Mu Lin in the eye in the slightest general, but when Mu Lin sees to come over, the whole body breath sighed, force the person's pressure to sweep toward Mu Lin directly and go. This kind of pressure is different from that released by Mulan outside the palace before. Mulan's pressure is to make everyone around feel it, but Yunwu's goal is only Mulan. In an instant, Mulan seemed to return to the situation just between life and death, and his whole body was shrouded in the cold time. There were so many people standing beside him, and a master of Wuzong was protecting him, but he still felt that he might die in Yunwu's hand at any time, and Mu Lin's cold sweat fell down directly. The next moment, the pressure was removed and everything returned to normal. Nothing. Cloud Dance light answer just now words. Mulin only felt as if he was reborn, gasping for breath, and even faintly congratulated that he had recovered his life. What's the matter? The man in white looked at him strangely. Just now, it was just a moment. No one knew what happened except Mulin. Even the man standing beside Mulin was the same. In the man's eyes, the moment before the good Mu Lin, suddenly as if palpitation in general, so will be so surprised. After listening to the culture of the man in white, Mulin Meng turned and looked at him, his eyes were full of shock. The coercion just now, this person didn't feel it. Realizing this, Mulin suddenly understood something, but then he couldn't believe it. Cloud Dance has the breath fluctuation, but this man can't feel it. It can only show that the strength of Cloud Dance is still above this man. This man is the realm of Wuzong. Is it really as the man in Xuanyi opposite said that the realm of Wuzong is nothing special? If that's the case, isn't he here to die? Mu Lin, who just came up with this idea, heard the voice of Cloud dancing in front of him. Let's go. I'm too lazy to tangle with a group of people in Mulin. Yunwu also has something she wants to get when she comes to the tomb this time, so naturally, she will try not to cause trouble as much as possible without causing trouble. If she does it in other times, she will kill him directly. Who wants him to kill himself first? Several other people have no objection to Yunwu's words, and it is obvious that she is the leader. So they followed Yunwu one after another and turned to leave. Mu Xiuming looked at the man in white opposite with a sarcastic smile and left behind a clown before he turned and left. Watching Yunwu and his party leave, Mulin can't say anything to stop them. Yunwu's final coercion is more like a reminder that if he doesn't think much of himself, he will disappear in the world forever next time. The speed of space transformation in the channel is very fast, although there is only one path in the whole channel. But there is also a turning point, but there is no fork, so when Yunwu steps into a channel again, the Mulin behind them could not catch up with them even if they wanted to, because they didn't know where they were. Little dance, can we just go on like this? Mu Xiuming frowned and said to the Cloud Dance around him. Since they separated from Mulin, they didn't pay attention to what happened just now. They thought that Yunwu would know how to solve the mystery of the tomb when he found it. Who knows, they just went on as before. What else can we do if we don't go on? Cloud Dance is also very helpless. Although she knows where each transformation is sent and how far the target is, she has no control over the location of the transmission. This mechanism can only rely on luck. Her strength is far from that of the host here. The space elements are suppressed and can't move at all, let alone lead people to move. And I don't know why, even the original plan of flying as fast as possible can't be carried out. Because I don't know what power exists in this tomb, it makes people unable to fly, and can only move towards the interior a little bit like an ordinary person. Fortunately, Yunwu people are all practitioners, and their physical strength is good enough. Is there no way to crack it? If you go on like this, when will it be the end? Mu Xiuming said dejectedly. It's been a whole hour since they came in. They are all in this unchangeable channel. Even if the channel changes randomly, they are a bit unlucky. I'm afraid someone has entered the center by this time. There's no way to crack it. Yunwu shook his head and went on, at least I can't crack it. Mu Xiuming had no choice but to go on dejectedly. However, I don't know if God has heard their prayers. When the passage changes again, Yunwu's several people are sent directly to the last section of the passage. After another corner, I saw a wide space at the end of the passage. Ha ha ha, God is not in vain for me, Mu Xiuming exclaimed excitedly. A few people around also have a happy smile, rushed forward quickly. However, this passage seems to be much longer than other passages. Just halfway through, I suddenly see that passage will start to change again. No. Hurry up, everyone! Cloud danced hurriedly out of voice to remind. Several other people also saw the end of the channel, began to move again, have accelerated the pace to continue to move forward. But I don't know if it's because it's closer to the center, the pressure in the tomb is greater, and the speed of the people is slower. Finally, even running is not allowed, can only quickly walk past, and that channel has moved to half of the position. How many can you pass? If it's separated, we'll find a way to get to the middle line. Yunwoo made a quick decision and made an arrangement. On hearing this, the other few people did not care what to say, and went all out toward the end of the passage. The speed of Cloud Dance is the fastest, always in the front, and finally reaches the end of the passage before the crowd, followed by Mu Xiuming and Lin Yuntang. Yunwoo turns around and looks into the passage. Huolin and Huolinger come. The passage has moved more than half. Huolin was by Huolinger's side. But when he arrived at the entrance of the passage, Huolin passed the passage first, turned his head and reached for Huolinger. At the end of the channel of clinker, there is a layer of diaphragm, which makes people only come out of the channel, but they can't go back, so Huolin's hand is blocked out of the channel. Huolinger's small body was drilled. He thought he could turn around, but the clinker was stuck in the middle. Huolin was so surprised that he wanted to pull her, but his hands could not touch her body. If it goes on like this, I'm afraid that Huolinger will be rigidly blocked by the changing channel. Miss too. Huolin's heartrending cry. At this time, a figure flashed, with a fierce momentum directly kicked out, abruptly kicked the Huolinger who was stuck in the passage directly back into the passage. The next moment, the figure also followed quickly into. Huolin hasn't reacted yet, and both Mu Xiuming and Lin Yuntang are going crazy. Little dance. Cloud dance. Fire Lin, this just reaction come over, unexpectedly is Cloud dance to drill into again. But in such a small place, why can she break through the diaphragm and get in? The cold voice of Cloud dance came from the gap of the passage, which was about to disappear, and instantly comforted several people's hearts. Don't worry, I'll protect her. You go first. Business matters. We'll meet at the center. Mu Xiuming remembered what Yunwoo said before they left the passage, but they didn't expect that they would separate from Yunwoo in the end. Finally, the passage completely disappeared. When everything was calm, Mu Xiuming, Lin Yuntang and Huolin looked at each other. Originally, Cloud Dance was the center of everything, but at this time, the three did not know how to cooperate. Cough. Mu Xiuming coughed and said, listen to Xiao Wu, let's find out the situation here first. Don't be greedy for wealth. Remember to take useful things and don't lose big things because of small things. Don't you go and get the most precious one? Huolin asked suspiciously. He received the task is to enter the tomb as soon as possible, at the same time, to arrive at the center to grab the most valuable thing. Mu Xiuming shook his head and said, it will take some effort to get that thing. I'm afraid it won't be found so easily. So the first thing we have to do is to find clues. Maybe we can find something useful later. Huolin thought about it, and felt that what he said was right, so he nodded, and the three went to the depth together. In the passage, Yunwoo sighed, back to the helpless scene. Turning around and looking at Huolinger, who was kicked to the ground by himself and was obviously in pain, he walked forward and asked softly, does it hurt? Huolinger nodded, shook his head and said, Sister Yun, I'm sorry, I seem to drag you down. Cloud Dance stretched out her hand to pull her up from the ground, did not say some words of comfort, but said, then next, you have to keep up. Huolinger's eyes nodded firmly. Two people once again set foot on the road of circulation in the passage. This time, their luck was not as bad as before. After walking in the passage for half an hour, they saw the exit of the passage. Finally, the helpless torture in the passage makes the Cloud Dance express emotion. I know how many people have arrived at the center, but I have no choice but to cycle in it. This kind of feeling is really not good. Sister Yun, this is not the place before. Huolinger was also full of emotion, but at the same time, she did not forget to observe the surrounding environment. She seemed to be a very careful girl. Well, Cloud danced some surprise to see I Fire Spirit Sun. Originally thought that she would not find it, did not expect that just out of the channel will be aware of this, and in the previous exit of the channel, Linger should just be stuck in a glance around the environment, right? Thinking of this, there was a flash of appreciation in Yunwoo's eyes. If she had not known for a long time that the passageways would lead to different directions, she would be surprised at this situation. It's different. Cloud danced light mouth way, the line of sight in the surrounding quickly swept a circle, the surrounding environment down. Although the exit is different, no matter which channel comes out, it will eventually meet in one place, that is the midpoint of the tomb, there is no doubt about that. Linger nodded. Just now, he was worried that he would not see them. At this time, he finally let go. At this time, the two people's position seems to be a cave, but the man-made traces are too obvious, as if they are in a place where they can imitate Warcraft. Can't that summoner be buried with Warcraft when she dies? Cloud Dance frowned and thought, looking at the depth of a dark perception release, but nothing. It seems that the summoner is very protective of this place. But since the protection is good, how can it be placed directly at the exit of the passage? Can we say that we are deliberately confusing others? Since ancient times, as long as some powerful summoners or other strong people build tombs for themselves, they will try their best not to be discovered by others. Some people will put their inheritance in them, and only those who have broken through many tests can get it. But both of them have one thing in common, that is, the grave must be full of danger. The greater the benefits, the greater the danger. So it's a very mysterious appearance like now. It's a poor chance that it will be a good thing to appear at the exit of the passage. Sister Yun, it seems that this is the place where Warcraft lives. Linger looks at it curiously, and wants to know more about it. Cloud Dance Aleng, how oneself didn't think of. A place for Warcraft? This place is obviously a man-made imitation of Warcraft nest. Does the summoner really have this hobby to let the precious Warcraft return to his burial? Think about the strength of the summoner in the rumor. If so, the Warcraft buried with him must not be any product. Even though they have died after so many years, they are all babies. Whether it is or not, let's go in and have a look. Cloud Dance said. Linger gets excited. Although she is weak in the Cloud Dance team, she is also one of the best talents in Huisher Town. She has always been brave and naturally curious about everything. At this time, I was very excited and nodded. Two people like this, one front and one back toward inside. Along the way is like a primitive cave, occasionally there are some traces left by Warcraft. But Yunwoo knows that these things are only deliberately imitated. Although the imitations are very similar, there are still some clues for people to see that they are man-made. The figure of two people finally stopped not far away from entering. At the end of the cave is a huge space, in which there are countless cages, holding a variety of Warcraft who do not know how long they have died. Cloud Dance swept a glance at random, found that there are a lot of their own names are actually not. Wow, there are so many. Linger said with admiration. Here, Warcraft big and small are put in different cages. The smallest one is the size of a cat, while the biggest one is the size of a phoenix. All Warcraft show their original shape and lose their breath. At a glance, there are more than 30 cages in the cave. Every Warcraft here will be contested by many families outside. Even if it can't be contracted, it's good to be domesticated. Even in the era of the tomb owner, I'm afraid the value is not low. Unfortunately, these are all dead things. Otherwise, Yunwoo really wants to contract some down. Linger went forward with high spirits. My god, this is the platypus. It's already extinct. I've seen it in books. It's a native Warcraft. It's said that its defense is very high, and it's also a rare native speed type. It's hard to deal with. Linger squatted in front of a cage and said with eyes shining. She is the second lady of Flint Town. Naturally, she has a lot of opportunities to contact things that others can't touch. Books are one of them. Cloud Dance Rare revealed curious eyes, with relish to listen to the introduction of Huolinger. This is a snake-tailed cat. Its tail is like a snake. It's thunder. It's very fast. It's said that it existed 200 years ago, but it was rare at that time. Look at this, at least it was 1,000 years ago. And this. Although Huolinger was young, she didn't expect that there were so many researches on Warcraft. Almost none of them could tell why. Cloud Dance surprised looking at her. This little girl is really not simple. Although the strength is not so good, but just with this brain is enough. Finally, Huolinger introduced all the Warcraft. Finally, he said, it's a pity that I wasn't born in that era, otherwise I could see them with my own eyes. As soon as Huolinger's words were finished, Cloud Dance didn't have time to say anything, and the color changed instantly. Then, a strong atmosphere appeared in the cave, which enveloped Yunwu and Yunwu. It was almost an instinctive reaction. As soon as Yunwu's palm was turned over, Guwu Dageo appeared directly in the palm. The black flame was burning and leaping on the face of the dagger. Who? Cloud Dance cold sound drink, at the same time carefully around. There are so many explorers today that it's hard to avoid a mix of good and bad. It's okay to rob the baby, but the breath is obviously aimed at them. What's more strange is that this breath obviously exceeds the strength of Cloud Dance. It's not easy for two human beings to recognize all Warcraft. The voice of the cold and proud woman sounded, with a little charm in the timbre, as if she was born with it. Then, a graceful woman came out from the depths of the cave, walking in lotus steps, each step with infinite amorous feelings. Yunwu's heart was on the alert. When did this woman show up? Until she appeared, Yunwu didn't feel her breath. What on earth does this man want to do? The woman came to Yunwu and looked her up and down. Then she was quite surprised. Summoner. Cloud Dance eyes again sink a few minutes. What is the origin of this woman? It's just a glance to see that she's a summoner. I didn't expect that after so many years, another summoner appeared. The woman shook her head and said with emotion, it seems that people and animals are harmless, and there are all kinds of customs. But then the next moment, the soft and charming expression disappeared in a moment, and changed into a cold murderous air. His hands were raised, and the double swords with cold light appeared in his hands. What if there is a summoner? If you're in another place, I'll blame you for coming here and trying to get my master's idea. As the guardian of the master's tomb, how can I let you spoil it here? The cold voice sounded, as if in an instant with the whole cave atmosphere in general. Cloud Dance pupil shrink, shocked said, Thunder Department Warcraft. Are you the contract beast of the tomb owner? One side of the fire spirit sun already immersed in the Cloud Dance is summoner. This news, shocked speechless. When I saw Cloud Dance fighting before, I was wrapped with purple fighting spirit. How could I become a summoner? But what the man said in front of her didn't seem to be true, and her sister Yun didn't deny it. It seems that it's true. And then her Cloud elder sister also burst out more shocked things. In front of this human woman turned out to be a summoner. Huolinger suddenly felt that her brain was not enough. She wanted to know what was going on, but it was obvious that she didn't have the chance. Linger, go to the back. Cloud Dance coldly said, tone no doubt. Huolinger trembled, looked at the two men, knew that now is not the time to intervene, quickly nodded, and went to the back. Who knows, just turned around, the voice of Cloud Dance came back. If you find something wrong, you should leave here as soon as possible and find Mu Xiuming. Huolinger was stunned and quickly turned his head. Sister Yun, you mean? But it wasn't Yunwu who answered her. The charming woman rushed up to Yunwu with her sword. A long sword was like thunder and lightning. In contact with the weapons of Cloud Dance, there is a direct impact of fire, as well as crackling, thunder and lightning. Thunder is Warcraft. Xinyu tribe. Who do you want? Shangguan asked curiously, but he saw that the old clan leader raised his head with his hands behind his back and frowned at the distant sky with rolling thunder clouds. The one who is going to break through Emperor Wu. Shangguan opened his mouth and asked in surprise. He looked up at Lei Yun and said, "That man, what's the benefit of getting it?" The old man sighed, shook his head and said, "I don't know the details, but this matter is strongly demanded by the people above." "The people up there?" Shangguan repeated. He was wondering who was on the top, but he heard someone exclaim, "God, the thunder is coming down." Almost everyone's attention is focused on the thunderstorm. Surprised voice one after another, let Shangguan also can't help but frown, very worried looking at Lei Yun. Who is this person? This big thunder cloud looks very powerful. I don't know if I can bear the thunder with that person's realm and fighting spirit. Thinking of something that made Shangguan curious, he turned his head and looked at the old patriarch. "You said, if this man died in this thunder robbery, what should he do?" The old clan leader's eyes were wide open for a moment. He was stunned for a long time and swallowed his saliva. He seemed to be in a bit of panic. "Well, I don't think so. If we can reach the realm of Emperor Wu, we should fight against thunder robbery still, I can handle it." When he said this, the old clan leader was obviously lack of confidence and looked very flustered. Shangguan bowed his head, laughed and sighed, "If you can find a way to help me break through Emperor Wu, maybe I can help you find that man and subdue him." As soon as the words came out, the old patriarch looked at Shangguan in surprise, and didn't seem to believe what he said. "You mean are you going to break through Emperor Wu?" Seeing Shangguan's serious nod, the old clan leader was trembling with excitement. He turned his head and said, "Come on, take out the Huishan pill in my cupboard." Shangguan's heart suddenly clattered. He turned his lips and said, "I seem to have eaten one of the reviving pills." But the old clan leader turned his head and said with a smile, "This elixir is very precious. We are not willing to use it, so we give it to Shangguan Yangxia. I hope Shangguan Yangxia can improve smoothly and break through Emperor Wu." Hearing such an earnest statement, Shangguan just touched his nose and laughed dryly. "Well, I want to say, is there anything better? I have already." Before he finished speaking, he heard a panicked shout outside, "No! Patriarch! Huishan Dan is gone, it's gone." The old clan leader suddenly changed his face, turned around and pulled the man's collar. "How could it be gone?" "It's in my cupboard, but it's gone." The man turned pale with fright and trembled all over, so he had to pee his pants. Shangguan stood beside him, scratching his head. He tried to open his mouth several times, but he didn't know how to explain it. Looking at the old patriarch, his face changed. Biting his lips, he finally began to speak. "Ah, that's it, that Huishan Dan." A burst of silence, the old patriarch suddenly lenged for a while, and then turned his head, looking at the Shangguan in consternation, swallowing. "Was it eaten by you?" Shangguan looked at the old clan leader seriously and nodded his head seriously. The old clan leader clenched his teeth, blue veins on his forehead burst up, holding the man's hand, almost choking the man. After a long time, I finally let go of my hand and let out a breath, showing an ugly smile. "That's great. If you don't want to give up, young Xia, I'll go and look for some other pills." Shangguan readily agreed. The old man walked out of the room with a stiff smile. Finally can't help it, Shangguan covered his stomach and couldn't help laughing, sitting on the chair. After a while, the old patriarch ran in dejectedly. The people behind him put 2 small porcelain vases on the table and stepped down. Shangguan went to the table, picked it up, put it in front of his nose, smelled it and had a look. It seems that the old clan leader hesitated for a long time and scratched his ears. After a long time, he finally said to Shangguan with great difficulty, "Well, Shangguan Yangxia, I want to ask you to do me a favor." "Oh. Let's hear it." Shangguan poured out a pill to smell, and then put it back on the table. Looking at Shangguan, the old clan leader was not very interested. He was a little timid. He clenched his fist and encouraged himself. He said, "I want to ask Shangguan to help the other side's experts through the thunder." "Huh?" Shangguan could not help turning his head and was very surprised. "Did I hear you right? Let me help him through the thunder, because the leader needs this person. If this person dies in the thunder robbery, I'm afraid The old patriarch turned pale and lowered his head, swallowing the rest. Shangguan raised his eyebrows, bowed his head and pondered for a moment. Then he turned around and took up the 2 bottles and looked at the old patriarch. That's okay, but the price is that I'll take both of them. All of them. The old clan leader felt that his heart was dripping blood. It was the treasure of his family. How hard it was to get pills. He asked for 2 pills at once. The old clan leader, whose heart was too painful to breathe, lowered his head and grinned, as if he was thinking about it carefully. The Shangguan looked up at the rolling thunder cloud over there and said, "Oh, it seems that the thunder cloud over there will come down in a little while. I don't know if that man can still." "Yes. It's a deal." As soon as the old clan leader clenched his teeth and stamped his feet, he turned his head and didn't seem to want to see him anymore. Smile in the heart of proud, Shangguan also didn't delay. Will Danyao loaded on the body, fly out, look become serious. We have to get under the thundercloud as fast as possible, because no one knows when the thundercloud will fall. Shao Tribe, Peijing Spring. Nangong Yi sits in the spring, frowning and closing his eyes. The thundercloud in the sky seems to be coming down soon. Lightning shuttles through the thundercloud. The whole sky is like splashing ink, and it seems to be pressing on people's head. The air in the body keeps surging, as if it is about to spill out of the body. These days, I have been practicing in the spring, filling my body with fighting spirit, and preparing for my breakthrough all the time. Nangong Yi is pale, although he has made enough preparation. But in the face of the powerful thunder cloud, the pressure is still very big, and the blood in his body is surging. He holds back the fishy sweetness in his throat, grits his teeth, and looks at the thunder cloud in the sky. In the Shao's tribe, Shao Xingjie is very worried about pacing outside the spring water. Lei Yun is pressing on his head, which makes everyone feel the blood rolling. I don't know if he can carry such a powerful Lei Yun only by Nangongji. But there is no one in the whole clan who has a higher realm than Nangongji, so if he doesn't carry it, I'm afraid his tribe will be. Thinking in this way, Shao Xingjie's heart was even more frightened. Listening to the roar inside, looking at the lightning in the cloud like a dragon, but without the appearance of splitting, Shao Xingjie's heart is up and down. Nangong Yi is very cautious. The purple spirit has enveloped his whole body, and he is absorbing the essence of the spring, circulates around the body, and gradually reaches the best state. All of a sudden, there was a loud bang, and suddenly a huge column of light came from the top down in the rolling black cloud. The people who were sighing all around covered their eyes and thundered. The whole Xiaojia tribe seemed to be destroyed. The purple fighting spirit suddenly condenses on the top of the head. Facing the huge energy, it makes Nangong Yi's blood gas surge. It's sweet in the throat, and a mouthful of blood spurts out. Thunderclouds continued to surge in the sky, which seemed to be dissatisfied with Nangongji's resistance. The roar was more intense, making the whole world tremble. After a while, the next thunder came down again. Nangong Yi closed his eyes and clenched his teeth. He almost carried all his fighting spirit out, fighting against the sky thunder. A burst of heartbreaking pain in his body makes Nangong Yi bite his tongue, and the blood flows down the corner of his mouth. He coughs twice, but he closes his eyes to wait. The third sky thunder, carrying more powerful energy. Then, in the fourth and fifth way, the water in the spring was boiling and rolling violently, and the stone Nangongji was sitting on was broken. Nangong Yi gasps violently. His face is white without a trace of blood. In front of him, there are bursts of darkness. He forces himself to cheer up and look up at the sky. The sixth sky thunder seems to be accumulating energy. The blood stains on his white clothes made him look very miserable. There was no time to explore the situation in his body. Two thunders came down together. Nangong Yi is hit and flies out. He lies on the edge of the spring, turns over and spits out a big mouthful of blood. He closes his eyes and explores his body. His already confused body makes him a little frustrated. Maybe, this is my final destiny. Vomit a breath, the blood keeps gushing from the throat. Nangong-yi reluctantly opens his eyes and raises his spirit. His broken body reluctantly gets lucky and protects himself in the seventh way. The eighth thunder doesn't chop down. Nangong-yi sits down with his knees crossed, trying to repair his seriously damaged meridians, but it's too miserable. Black clouds are surging in the sky. Half of the sky has been immersed in darkness. Everyone's eyes are wide open. The scene in front of us is very shocked. Finally, the eighth sky thunder explodes suddenly in the dull sound of the sky. Nangong-yi almost uses up his fighting spirit and raises his hand to attack the sky thunder. Suddenly, the two forces collide. The huge fluctuation will shatter the rocks and peaks beside the spring. The splashing stones will scratch Nangong-ji's body, and the white clothes will be covered with blood. Nangong-yi coughs 2 times and falls to the ground. In the sky, the violent rolling thunder clouds finally gradually dissipated and cleared up in the twinkling of an eye. Xiao Xingjie was so excited that he was ready to rush into the spring. However, in front of him, a large number of people in black suddenly appeared and surrounded the whole Peijing spring. The powerful atmosphere made Xiao Xingjie pale and stepped back 2 steps. We took the people inside. One of them coldly said, "Stop in front of Xiao Xingjie and others, several people have rushed in." People of the Beast Gate. Xiao Xingjie's face turned pale and looked at the people pouring into Peijing Spring. Nangongji, who lies beside the spring, gradually loses consciousness. All he hears is the sound of hasty footsteps, but he can't open his eyes. "Take it away." A man in black pointed to Nangong-yi, who was lying on the ground dying. The 2 men came forward and bent down to set up Nangong-yi. All of a sudden, a figure flashed in front of them, and then the 2 suddenly flew back. "Want to take him? Pass me first." The tomb left by the ancient summoner. In the cave, Yunwu didn't even have time to answer Huo Linger's words. He didn't even have time to say, "Leave as soon as possible." The lightning attack came. At this moment, the black flame on Guwu broadsword burns to the extreme. The deep black looks like a jumping black hole, which makes people feel timid from the bottom of their heart. But the opposite woman didn't seem to feel it. She looked at the clouds coldly and waved a pair of double swords mercilessly. Just like a silver snake, what swims on the double swords is the full-bodied and pure thunder element. The woman opposite not only has extremely fast speed, but also has powerful attack power. Stab, the weapon collides to send out the harsh sound. Yunwu felt as if there was a flash of thunder and lightning rushing into his body. His right hand was numb. Damn it! Yunwu's heart sank and he quickly retreated. He didn't care about the next attack, so he had to retreat to the second line. Yunwu has known the woman's identity, thunder attribute and strength from what she said just now. She always mentions the master, and guards the tomb loyally. All these together show that the woman is the summoner of the tomb master. The summoner, who exists in the legend, is said to have reached a level where no one can defeat her. Her summoner's natural strength can't be underestimated. Even if because of the death of the master and the change of time, this strength will decline, but it is still not able to resist Yunwu. If we win this battle, we will have great benefits, even if we hold the whole tomb in our hands. Defeated, then all things are up to now, whether it is Yunwu's unfinished mission or her life. Cloud Dance's eyes are cold. He has thought all this clearly in his heart, and he can't neglect at the moment. That woman's attack is very fierce, a move in one form, the thunder elements used to the extreme. Just want to covet the master's treasure. Get the master's inheritance? It's just too much. The inheritors of the master are not the weak ones like you. It seems that I just looked up to you. The woman's eyes flashed a touch of ridicule and contempt. You are not as good as the little girl around you. At least she can recognize so many warcraft, but you can't recognize anything, and your strength is not so good. Cloud Dance looks unchanged, as if did not hear the woman's words in general, bright eyes, did not dare to relax. What? So nervous? Women not only have no sense of shut up, but more cynical. In her opinion, although the cloud dance does not have much ability, but it seems to have been holding a breath, trying to find their own flaws. Often the strong will have a kind of pride and conceit. The more they use words to tease, the easier it is to make them lose their sense. But the cloud dance in front of them is not like that. No matter what she said, she always kept calm. The woman even wondered when she could endure, so she made more efforts. Yunwoo really didn't pay attention to the woman's words. If she only cares about the other party's ugliness, she doesn't have to fight. Her purpose is to get inheritance. If she wants to get inheritance, she must pass the approval of these guardians. They have been guarding here for thousands of years, welcoming batch after batch of challengers. Only those who finally defeat them are qualified to receive their master's inheritance. This is what Yunwoo learned from the words of a woman just now. Similarly, it is also speculated that if she does not get their approval, she must leave her life here. Cloud Dance's eyes have never let go of a woman's one move, will each other's every action in mind. Slowly, Cloud Dance suddenly eyes a bright, unexpectedly found the other side attack routine. Found it. A touch of surprise flashed in Yunwoo's eyes, as if he had found a treasure. The woman was stunned, frowned and asked, "What did you say? What did you find?" Yunwoo did not answer her. Just now I found out this woman's routine, and found that all her attacks benefited from the speed and power of Ray element. Every move had its own rules, which didn't look like the way a Warcraft should attack. So they bet, just afraid that she was trapped here, simply cannot show the body. In that case, she would like to play with her. In fact, the sentence, found, is just to interrupt the rhythm of women, so as to confirm that my guess is correct. The final result is exactly the same as what she thought. The woman's rhythm is disrupted instantly, and Yunwoo's eyes quickly catch a flaw. Right now. The black flame broadsword on Cloud Dance's hand waved and chopped at the side of the woman's neck with an extremely tricky angle. If this attack is hit, I'm afraid that the woman will die directly in Cloud Dance's hand. The woman's reaction is also fast, a sword in one hand quickly blocks the ancient Wu dagger. Another long sword full of cold light stabs Yunwoo directly. As long as Yunwoo continues to attack, it will be stabbed. Cloud Dance sneer, early guessed the woman's possible action, the body of a twist, in a distorted posture to the side of the rigid twist. At the same time, the right foot raised, mercilessly toward the woman's belly kick. The speed of this foot is just reached the extreme by Cloud Dance, and it's too late for the woman to react. Bang! The woman was directly kicked out and hit the back of the mountain wall. The woman snorted and looked up at Yunwoo for the first time. I don't know if your master has ever told you not to waste your energy on unnecessary things when dealing with others, and talking nonsense is one of them. Cloud Dance looks at the woman standing up on the ground and says coldly. She was very clear that her foot just kicked her away. For a woman, it was like tickling. It didn't hurt her at all. After listening to Yunwoo's words, the woman smiles instead of anger, and her face becomes very charming because of this smile. It's a funny little fellow. If the master is alive, maybe he will accept you as an apprentice. It's not only charming in appearance, but also charming in voice. If a man listens, he will not be able to hold it on the spot. Cloud Dance frowned, looked at the woman and said, "Your body is a fox." "Oh, you found out." The woman spat out her tongue and took some love with her. "You are not too stupid, but your strength is poor. You are not qualified to be the inheritor of the master." Cloud Dance stood up straight body, squinting at her. "How do you know just now is my all strength?" "All the strength?" The woman picked an eyebrow. "The summoner's full strength is to add the summoner, but don't you find that you lost contact with the summoner as early as the moment you entered the tomb?" "What?" Yunwoo suddenly opened his eyes and tried to call his own summoner. Finally found that as the woman said, no matter how they call, those who are usually very busy summon beasts did not appear. "Don't say you can't summon them now. It's no use even if you can summon them all." The woman then said, don't you find that I haven't shown myself up to now? So even if you call them out, unless they die, they will never be able to fight with themselves. In that case, how much combat power can they have? Yunwoo's eyes narrowed to calm down. I'm not only a summoner, but also a fighter. Even if I don't have a summoner around me, I can be alone. You can't fight with Numenon, can you? Woman Aleng, followed by what seems to be a funny joke in general, laugh at the flowers falling, finally stopped. I said, little sister, haven't you found out yet? Even if I don't have to fight in Numenon, my strength is not bad. I'm half human. How can I compare with other Warcraft? Since she and her friends decided to guard the tomb thousands of years ago, she consciously abided by the rules of the tomb, turned into a human figure and stayed here forever, until she met the next inheritor to inherit everything from her master. Only when someone comes to seize the tomb when it is extremely difficult, will they use some special means to make themselves free from the rules of the tomb and show themselves to resist the outsiders. But up to now, although some people once wanted to seize the tomb, there was no one who made them present themselves. When the woman said that, Yunwoo suddenly remembered. Just now, when women use double swords, they are really like human warriors. They even have the blessing of thunder element. Their speed and attack are more powerful than ordinary warriors. With this thought, Yunwoo suddenly became very curious about this woman, and a bold idea suddenly appeared in her heart. Since this woman is Warcraft, I don't know if I can contract her. As soon as this idea came out, the woman opposite seemed to be able to understand Yunwoo's mind and said, I advise you not to think so much about it. Do you agree with me? It depends on whether you have that ability. Cloud Dance was poked in the mind, but didn't feel embarrassed at all. On the contrary, he admitted, how can you be contracted by me? Women's eyes are cold, with the appearance of the charming, as if there are endless amorous feelings in general. Contract me, first of all, to survive from my hands. Yunwoo is well prepared. I'm afraid I have to understand the truth next. The flame of the ancient sword in my hand was loud, as if declaring my strength. Slowly, with the beat of the rhythm, there was a touch of red mixed in the black. The number and black cannot be compared. But in that black flame, red is like a king, with the dignity that can't be provoked. The woman's eyes flickered when she saw the red flame, but there was not much surprise. Although Warcraft can't be summoned, if Warcraft has its own flame, the owner can use it. Now Yunwoo only uses her Warcraft flame. I just don't know what kind of Warcraft with that kind of flame will be. I still need a Thunder series of Warcraft. If I win you, you come with me. Cloud Dance corner of the mouth a hook, coldly said, that serious tone does not look like a joke. The woman didn't speak. On the double swords in her hand, the silver light flickered more obviously and rushed to the cloud quickly. This time, her attack is no longer just a physical attack. This human wants her to be her summoner again and again. Then she will let her have a good look at the gap between them. Suddenly speed up. Do not know how much speed, let the Cloud Dance to deal with more difficult, a moment of change as if and before completely two people. Cloud Dance in the heart no, only afraid is oneself again and again of put forward to let her do own summon beast and thoroughly annoy her. Now this woman is really one own life. Because it is more difficult for them to recognize other human beings than ordinary Warcraft, which have been legendary characters. But Cloud Dance doesn't believe it. You don't recognize me? Then I will let you have a good look. I have the qualification to let you recognize. The sound of ping ping is constantly ringing in the cave, and each move is extremely dangerous. With the addition of pure yang, the power of Cloud Dance is several times more than before. But in spite of this, in the hands of women even still have no fight back. Huolinger on one side was already worried. At this time, she didn't have the heart to think why the Cloud Dance was a summoner, why the woman suddenly became so angry. At this time, there is only one idea in her heart, that is, Yunwoo must not lose. Sister Yun, you must not get hurt. You will win. You are so powerful. How can you lose to a Warcraft? Huolinger tries to stay away from the battle circle, not to add trouble to Yunwoo. He shrinks in the corner and looks at the battle situation in front of him with fear. Until this time, I finally realized that my strength was so poor that I could barely do it without disturbing, let alone helping. Sister Yun, you must not have anything to do. You have to protect me and find my baby. How can you be defeated in this place? Our adventure is just the first step. If you are safe, I will let my father leave all the good things to you, as long as you are safe. Huolinger prays anxiously in his heart. However, heaven seemed not to hear her prayer at all. Even though she was not strong enough, she could see that the war in the cave was slowly falling towards the woman. Another pair of swords hit Yunwoo. Although there was no damage on the surface, Yunwoo could avoid the crucial place. But Yunwoo felt numb, and a ray element directly penetrated into her body. Yunwoo was surprised. At this time, the woman's double swords had stabbed her from two directions, with extremely fierce momentum. No matter which direction she was hiding, she could not escape the disaster. Go to hell. The woman's eyes with a strong murderous, for that enchantment added a cold, as if the glamorous poppy, but it is so pure. Fight. Cloud Dance looks at the murderous spirit in the woman's eyes, and knows that she can't escape anyway, and now she's ready to go. The earth elements swept out in an instant, forming a protective layer in the direction of the long sword. Yunwoo didn't feel that the protective layer could block the woman's attack. This defense was just to delay time. Then, the overwhelming red flames swept out. Cloud Dance will be able to use the pure yang yen all mobilized out. In an instant, the whole cave are very bright by the fire. Huolinger was shocked to see what happened in front of her. It was clear that Yunwoo couldn't see any hope at the moment before, and her heart was also pulled up. Unexpectedly, Sister Yun gave her such a big surprise at this moment. Good, it's amazing. The fire spirit Sun Nan Nan rode, the vision does not leave that gorgeous fire light for a moment, as if saw the most beautiful scene in the world. Women are also shocked by this scene. Against the background of the fire, women can see the madness on Cloud Dance's face. But there's nothing she can say about it. The smile on Yunwoo's face seems to be laughing at her. She is the one who is beyond measure. This fire, how's it going? Cloud Dance mouth light hook, looking at the woman's face, said with a smile. Originally, she intended to use the black flame, but when the woman's double swords collided with the defense condensed by the local elements, Yunwoo intuitively believed that only relying on the black flame could not defeat her. In a moment, Yunwoo mobilized Pure Yang. Pure Yang Yen, where you pass, you are invincible. Under the attack of Pure Yang Yen, that pair of double swords had already become dull, and even had a faint sign of being melted. The woman frowned and put away the pair of swords. Seeing her like this, Yunwoo not only didn't relax, but also became more vigilant. She had no idea what kind of action the woman would take next. Come on, Sister Yun. Huolinger looked at it and could not help saying that the voice was very light, for fear of disturbing the Cloud Dance, but there was a faint excitement in his eyes. Now, is Sister Yun going to win? But Yunwoo doesn't think so. First of all, the woman hasn't shown herself. Even now, she still doesn't see the appearance of the woman at a loss. She doesn't believe that she doesn't have the last move. Sure enough, after taking back the double swords, the woman immediately stepped back and separated from Yunwoo. Looking at the Cloud Dance, staring at her eyes and the bright red flames around her, the corner of the woman's mouth was hooked, showing a charming smile. The next moment, the woman's body bent, the body into a ball. The next moment, the white sky directly rose in the fire. In the desert, Meng Bai still walked day and night, passing through scattered villages, borrowed some water and food, and went on the road. He didn't know where he was, and he didn't know where he was going, so he went forward aimlessly. At night, the desert was desolate. The silvery moonlight poured down in the desert. It was cold. The temperature was very different from that of the day. Meng Bai could not help wrapping his skin tightly. Spit out a cold, feel his whole body will be frozen, and look around, hoping to see a person walking alone in the desert like himself. The night was long and hard. Mangbai walked for a long time, only looking at the stars in the sky did he know that he was going north. Hunger and thirst made him dizzy. Finally, after walking for many miles, I was too tired to lift my legs, so I sat down on the sand, folded some dry shrubs and lit them. This faint flame has become the only light source and heat source in the desert. Mangbai sighed and kept putting wood in it. He took out the raw meat from his luggage and roasted it on the fire. No matter how it tasted, it was just to survive. No matter how bad the meat was, he bit his teeth and swallowed it. Until he swallowed the roasted meat, Mangbai finally felt the warmth of his body. It was no longer so cold, so he looked at the sky and sat waiting for the dawn. A series of voices suddenly appeared behind him, which made Mangbai, who had been feeling very unsafe, nervous and listened to the voice behind him. That sound, it seems to come from some warcraft. Mangbai thinks so, he carries out fighting spirit, the whole body is on guard, waiting for the voice behind him to get closer and closer. What is it? Mangbai thought in his heart, however, his voice was getting closer and closer, and he heard it more and more clearly. It was like a lot of insects with only one foot coming towards him behind him. My heart goes up to my throat. Mangbai did not dare to move. He listened carefully to the voice behind him. Sure enough, after a while, countless voices suddenly appeared behind him, which made people shiver. Mangbai breathed until he heard something close to him. Then, the tentacles of that thing suddenly stretched out from behind Mangbai. Mangbai, with a thump in his heart, turned his head and raised his hand to chop. He heard a fierce roar behind him. He quickly turned over and stood up. This time, he was shocked. In the desert behind him, countless red eyes, with the sound of knowing Sua's feet touching the sand, surround him with Mangbai as the center of the circle, and the circle is gradually shrinking. Mangbai's heart rate suddenly quickens, although the fighting power of this kind of thing is not so good. But this thing is collective foraging every time you go out, so no matter how high the realm, it will consume your physical strength. He sacrificed the sword, and the whole person was surrounded by fighting spirit, but he still felt the cold breath from these things and surrounded himself. It seems that those warcraft can't feel Mangbai's specific state, so they wisely choose not to move forward. Instead, they are less than 3 feet away from Mangbai, wandering around, and their tentacles are constantly touching Mangbai, as if they are looking for opportunities to start. Mangbai calms down and holds the sword in his hand. He has a spirit of 12 points. When he faces countless multi-legged insects, he really has no chance of winning. Thinking like this, I can't help laughing bitterly. Do you think I'm going to die here today and become a delicious food for insects? Suddenly, an insect in front of him suddenly put up his upper body and ran to Mangbai with his lower body's feet. The antennae on his head and the legs of his front body actually became weapons to attack Mangbai. Mangbai grasped the hilt of the sword in his hand, raised his hand and cut it toward the antennae of the multi-legged insect. With a click, the polypod's hard shell didn't seem to play much role. Its antennae broke in response to the sound, and the polypod suddenly lost its center of gravity and fell to the ground, unable to struggle. Mangbai laughs. He finally understands that the antennae are not only the nose and eyes, but also the things to master the balance of gravity. Therefore, if the antennae are cut off, the next thing will be too simple. He rushed forward and thrust his sword into the shell of the fallen multi-legged insect. The insect began to scream sharply, wriggled a few times, and suddenly exploded in front of Mangbai. All of a sudden, the shell of the multi-legged insect, like a dart, flew towards Mangbai. Mangbai had not yet recovered from the explosion, and then he felt a sharp stabbing pain all over his body. When I looked down at myself, I saw that my body was full of blood, and they were extremely deep. The blood instantly dyed my clothes red. Mangbai grins, but sees the multitudinous multi-legged insects around him. It seems that he is suddenly furious, standing up and pouncing on Mangbai Fei. My God, Mangbai couldn't help crying. But no one heard him. He raised his sword and cut off the antennae of the Polypodes in front of him. However, he did not dare to kill the Polypodes anymore. The wound on his body was bleeding and gradually dyed the sand on the ground red. Mengbai gasped and looked at the insects on the ground. The ugly multi-legged insect can't roll on the ground, but he can't do anything about Mengbai for a moment. Then he breathes out his breath and continues to kill the continuous multi-legged insect in front of him with his sword. It seems that it is rare to see people in the deep desert. The Polypodes are obviously hungry. Mengbai in front of them becomes the food of all Polypodes. Mengbai looks at these multi-legged insects and seems to be possessed and pours on himself, feeling the heavier and heavier sword in his hand. Suddenly, he tore a piece of cloth from his clothes and wrapped it around his hand. He tightly wrapped the sword and hand together and cut off the multi-legged insects in front of him. The ground is mixed with the blood of Mengbai and multi-legged insects, which makes the whole desert full of killing. A gust of wind came, blowing up the sand on the ground and burying the sand that had been soaked with blood. There was no other trace except the corpse of the multi-legged insects on the ground. Mengbai thrust his sword into the sand and fell to his knees. It's been so long, but seeing the appearance of multi-legged insects in the sand in the distance, Mengbai's face can't help but turn white again. His face is very ugly. He stood up from the ground with his sword. Mengbai is covered with blood, and his clothes have become stiff. He looks at the horizon, and the fish belly is white. It seems that the bloody and cruel night will finally pass. Mengbai breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that he had never seen the appearance of Polypodes during the day, so there should be no danger. Thinking like this, coping with the multi-legged insects in front of us, waiting for the sun to rise. Finally, in a cold wind and the smell of blood, I can see the east direction. The sun has crossed the horizon, slowly rising towards the sky above. Tired, cold, hungry, let Mengbai dizzy. He looked down at his trembling hands and gave a wry smile. However, looking around, countless red multi-legged insects like red centipedes emerged in the desert. These warcraft seem to have been possessed, and they appear endlessly, crawling towards Mengbai's direction. What's going on? Mengbai frowned. Does it mean that the day has no effect on these things? Gradually, the sun rose higher and higher, and the temperature in the desert rose instantly, which made Mengbai feel warm. In front of him, the multi-legged insect, which kept twisting, suddenly stopped twisting. Then, before Mengbai could react, he heard countless explosions around him and suddenly remembered. 1 person and a half tall multi-legged insects, countless rolling multi-legged insects on the ground, exploded one by one in front of Mengbai. Suddenly, bursts of shell fragments are like darts, flying towards Mengbai. That's very fast. As soon as Mengbai had no way to react, he instinctively covered his face with his hands and wrapped his whole body in a moment of fighting. But there were still many pieces flying into his body. Suddenly, a burst of heartbreaking pain made his eyes dark. With a groan of pain, the sword turned in his hand and avoided countless pieces. All over the desert, the polypods exploded one by one. Finally, the mentally retarded multi-legged insect seemed to realize that it would die in the sun. Suddenly, a multi-legged insect ran quickly in the direction it came. Then, large areas of red, like ebb tide in general, quickly disappeared in the direction of coming. Mengbai vomited blood, countless wounds, and the wave of multi-legged insects' self-explosion hurt him both inside and outside. He reluctantly supported his broken body and continued to walk forward, breathing heavily. Simply, after a short walk, I saw a small tribe in front of me, with people coming and going. My eyes suddenly lit up the light of hope, and I regretted why I didn't take 2 more steps yesterday. Maybe I won't meet what happened in the evening, and I hurried forward. But everything in front of him began to be in a trance. The air was getting hotter and hotter, which made him dizzy in bursts, and his ears began to be unable to hear clearly. Countless people cast strange eyes at him, some of them are evasive, for fear that Mengbai will meet him. Mengbai looked around, but his eyes were already empty. He couldn't see anything clearly. He just mechanically moved his legs and walked forward. But in the end, he couldn't hold on. At the moment of his fall, he saw the feet of countless people running towards him, and the eager voice. "Come on. Here's a man who fainted." It seems that this man was attacked by a polypod in the desert. "God, there's a lot of blood. It's important to help. Finally, the world is clean." Meng Bai thought so, and then he didn't know anything in the next second. When he regained consciousness again, he felt that he had been lying on the soft bed. He didn't rush to open his eyes. He closed his eyes and inspected the situation in his body. "I couldn't help but be glad that after such a battle, I was filled with a lot of fighting spirit in my body. It seemed that I was overflowing. Maybe it's time to heal well and prepare for the breakthrough." Suddenly, a smell of food floated into his nose, which made Meng Bai, who had been eating half-cooked warcraft meat in the desert, feel that he was hungry and his chest was close to his back. "Open your eyes and get out of bed." Next to him, there was a sudden shriek. I saw two maids standing by the bed, suddenly covering their eyes with their hands, blushing like apples. Meng Bai almost subconsciously covers the quilt back. Then he feels that his clothes have been taken off, countless gauze entangled, but he is naked. His face turned red and he couldn't help feeling embarrassed. Cough. Cough twice. He bowed his head and did not dare to look at the maid beside him. He just whispered, "Well, can you give me back my clothes?" Shao tribe, Peijing Spring. Nangong Yi is lying on the ground, already very weak. When he closed his eyes and heard the quarrel in front of him, he was suddenly stunned. This voice is very familiar. I forced myself to open my eyes, but I saw a man standing in front of me with his back to me and a sword in his hand. But I can't see who it is, and I can't remember who the voice comes from. But Shengguan couldn't help frowning. All the people in front of him were from the Beast Gate. Behind him, he turned his head and glanced at the dying man lying on the ground. He couldn't help muttering in his heart, "This man is really familiar, no? How does it look like Nangongji?" But Nangong Yi is always wearing a veil. So far, he hasn't seen the appearance under his veil. It's not like his style to show up in public. However, the situation in front of him did not give him time to check the situation, so he had to finish the task given to him by the old patriarch first: protect the man, make a smooth breakthrough, and then heal. Since you have taken other people's things, you must give something back to them. So when you throw the sword, it gives out a long chant, and your eyes become cold. The people of the Beast Gate are really irreconcilable. Shengguan was so lucky that he wrapped up his whole body. And the black fighting spirit, but instantly let the people in front of 10,000 Beast Gate stunned. A few people lower their heads to discuss, from time to time to see the Shengguan. "Hey, I said you." Shengguan watched warily at the man in front of the Beast Gate, but said to Nangong Yi behind him, "Hurry up and heal. I'll tell you, I can't last long." Nangong Yi behind him, suddenly saw the person in front of him carrying out a moment of black fighting spirit, and his heart was cold. But suddenly thought of this voice is very familiar. At last, silent for a long time, suddenly faint smile, gritted his teeth to support the body cross-legged and sat down, closed his eyes. "Thank you, Shengguan." In front of the Shengguan did not continue to turn his head, just a bright eyes. This voice good. The master here is Nangong Yi. Damn, for a moment, there was some blood boiling. However, when Shengguan looked at the Beast Gate that was still at a loss in front of him, his eyes became colder and colder. "In order to catch Nangongji, you have really taken great pains." A sarcastic sentence, led in front of the people of the Beast Door instant silence. I immediately realized that although this man was a member of the Beast Gate, his heart didn't belong to the Beast Gate. Several people instantly realized that this man might be the Little Lord. Immediately toward the officer a fist, cold voice way, that then sorry. Then he turned his head and nodded to the people around him, who rushed to Shengguan. "Nangongji. You give me a good treatment, these people I can still deal with." Shengguan shouts and rushes to the people of the Beast Gate. Peijing spring outside, but scared Xiao Xingjie. Looking at the countless people in front of them, they stopped all of them, but they didn't know what happened. They just said to the people with a dry smile, "Well, young Xia, I want to know what happened," which surprised the people of the Beast Gate to come here. "We can solve the things here by ourselves." However, the people in front of the Beast Gate ignored him and didn't look at him. They just stood quietly in front of Xiao Xingjie and others, silent. Peijing Spring is now in full swing. Nanganji repressed the blood gas in his body and closed his eyes to repair the damaged meridians in his body. However, the injury was heavy and it was too difficult to heal. Nangang Yi is very anxious in his heart. Although all the people in front of him are not the opponents of Shengguan, no one knows what big role they will play this time. With the rapid movement of the fighting spirit in the body, Nanganji quickly entered the state. Shengguan stirred up a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, but none of the people of the Beast Gate could get close to him. This made the people of the Beast Gate very angry, but they had nothing to do. Looking back at Nangang Yi, he is trying to adjust his breath. He can't help but smile again. All of a sudden, I was sent to a strange place. After a long time, I finally met a friend. There is nothing happier than this. Then he put the sword into a person's body. Shengguan was in a good mood. He thought that it was no longer extravagant to reunite with other friends. "My good son, I haven't seen him for such a long time. It seems that he has improved a lot." Suddenly, in Peijing Spring, a familiar voice came into Nangang Yi's and Shengguan's ears, which made their faces turn white at the same time. Shengguan's expression became serious in an instant. His hand holding the sword tightened and clenched his teeth. You are here. It seems that you are serious this time." Nangang Yi opens his eyes and looks in front of him. In front of Shengguan, a familiar figure came slowly towards them. And the invisible pressure on that person made two people feel suffocated. Shengguan turns his head and looks at Nangang Yi. Nangang Yi also looks at him. His injury is very serious. The time to adjust his breath is not enough to recover. And this character in front of us is really a headache for both of us. I don't know if I'm lucky or unfortunate to meet you here. Shengguan sneered. Looking at the Shengguan in front of him, the invisible pressure makes his hands and legs constantly tremble. But he did not let, "Even if I am dead, I will not let you take my friend here." Hearing this, Shengguanli burst out laughing. As if he had heard some funny joke, he suddenly raised his hand and patted Shengguanli hard on his chest. Shengguan had been ready for a long time, but also carried up his fighting spirit, facing Shengguan's fierce palm in front of him. But Shengguan is too strong. As soon as Shengguan's fighting spirit reached him, his blood was already surging. He stepped back several steps, and the blood was gurgling down the corner of his mouth. And the other side at the same time. The hot and red flames, like burning blood, lit up the whole cave. Cloud Dance and Fire Spirit, two people one after another, one face shocked looking at in front of suddenly appear white. And that fiery red completely different feeling, it is a root of white hairy tail, each tail is surprisingly large, white without a flaw. At the moment of erecting, they quickly wrapped the body that had been curled up into a ball. In an instant, a white hairy ball appeared in the fire. This is the beast. Huolinger looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief, shocked and speechless. I saw that the white fluffy ball was very huge. At the moment of forming, a layer of silver light flickered on her body, protecting her whole body, so that she would not be burned by the fire. Yunwu's face sank as time went on. There is no other reason, just because the pure Yang Yen completely lost her power after the silver light appeared. Under the silver light, pure Yang Yen can't get close to the body no matter how burned. Compared with the power, pure Yang Yen seems to be just a child, and has no fighting power in front of adults. Cloud Dance's eyes are very cold, but still did not give up. As long as pure Yang still exists, the woman must maintain the present defensive state. Without hesitation, Cloud Dance turned his hand, and the ancient sword with burning black flame appeared in his palm again. Since pure yang yen can't deal with you, then add me and come along. The cold voice rang out, without a trace of emotion mixed in. Cloud danced body movement, directly toward the white ball fly, with the force, merciless attack up. Black and silver were wrapped in a piece of red. Unexpectedly, the violent collision did not appear. The silver light was suddenly in full bloom before the attack of Cloud Dance arrived. It was extremely dazzling in this cave. What's the situation? Huolinger quickly turned his head and put out his hand to block the dazzling light. It seemed that he would be blinded by the light if he took another look. Then I thought, I can't look at the light directly from such a distance. Will the distance of Cloud Dance be directly affected by the light? At the moment, Huolinger immediately cried out in panic, Sister Yun. Yunwu was really affected by the sudden light, but he quickly closed his eyes. The dazzling light, a thin eyelid could not block, even if I closed my eyes still feel uncomfortable. The cloud dances quickly to make a judgment, and the neck twists to avoid the dazzling light. At the same time, the perception will be more intense release, the surrounding environment detection is very clear. The black flame broadsword on the hand not only didn't take back, but continued to chop toward the ball. Bang, like the sound of metal collision, the black flame dagger directly collided with the silver light. Cloud Dance just felt like cutting on the hardest thing. The black flame sword had no influence on the silver layer. How could that be? Cloud Dance Oleng, eyes full of surprise. Although there is no way to open your eyes to see, but you can clearly know what happened through perception. But before she could react, the white ball changed again. Silver light suddenly shrunk, as if brewing some great power in general. Cloud Dance hands on a meal, quickly retreat out. Just as Yunwu's body was far away, the light suddenly exploded again. This time, it's a complete explosion. Where the silver light has gone, it makes the pure yang yen invisible. The crushing of strength makes the pure yang yen become like a weak grass, which is helpless in front of the strength. Sister Yun. The silver light flashed. Huolinger opened his eyes and saw the figure of Cloud dancing backward and the red flame that was crushed. He was very anxious. Although she didn't know what the red flame was, she could see that its power was absolutely unusual, but now she didn't even have the strength to fight back, which was enough to show the woman's terrible. What's more, she was the summoner of ancient times. Don't come here. Cloud Dance a low drink, directly stopped the footstep of Fire Spirit Sun, the line of sight dead stares at the front to shrink into a ball of white fluff. At this point, she obviously can no longer use pure yang yen to fight. If the silver light comes again as before, I'm afraid pure yang yen will be directly extinguished. By then, both she and Stink will be affected. There is still a long way to go, and the battle is not over, she cannot lose. Huolinger's forward step stopped abruptly, and could only look at the Cloud Dance with a worried face. She knows her strength. The battle is not over yet. She can only make trouble for Yunwu. At this time, she suddenly resented why she didn't work hard at ordinary times, so that she could protect the person she wanted to protect at the critical time, instead of watching from a distance and trying not to drag others down. Sister Yun, you must win. When you win, I will practice hard after I go back. I will. Huolinger prayed silently in his heart, then stood back and looked at the two men in front of him from a distance. Cloud Dance heart read a move, directly put away that burning pure material yang yen, eyes burning looking at the ball in front of. The fire is so intense that it forces me to show half of my body. Only after 9 tails can I stop it. The enchanting voice of the woman rings out again. Then, the white ball came loose slowly. 9 huge white foxtails stand up and sway behind the woman, which makes the figure more petite and enchanting. The woman's face with a cold smile, seems to be praise, more like ridicule. It's a pity that the strength of the people who use it is too low. If your realm is higher, I really can't resist it. It's a pity that such a good fire it's wasted. Yunwu's eyes were extremely cold. It was the first time that he heard such words from others. It seems that their strength is an insult to these babies. Even if they were insulted by others before, they are not reconciled at the moment. If you think about it carefully, Yunwoo suddenly feels that he is not too dependent on these external things. From pure Yang Yen to Guwu de Geo, no matter which one is inseparable from their own strength, they always borrow these things, and they can easily crush their opponents. However, there are few opportunities to fight against the opponent with their own realm. If one day, pure Yang Yen lost its effect, Guwu broadsword was taken away by others, and Hyo left himself, was it as if he had broken his arm? Just like at the moment, when the pure Yang lost its effect, he was inexplicably feel a trace of panic. It's only a few months since she got pure Yang. Habit can be so terrible. Yunwoo suddenly felt a chill in her heart. She didn't realize this problem until now. If it wasn't for today's war, I'm afraid I would be flustered if I really wait until such a day. No. You can't do that. Cloud Dance cries in the heart. What I need is to add wings like a tiger. Even without them, I can cross the mountains like a fierce tiger, instead of making them a part of my body. Without them, I will never fight again. Realizing this, Yunwoo took a deep breath. My own realm, my own ability. What is your own strength no matter what the situation is? Body method, moves, the power of elements in the body, fighting spirit. Yunwoo closed his eyes and thought for a while. When he finally opened his eyes became firm again. The opposite woman stood there coldly. Yunwoo didn't do it, and she didn't rush to do it. Behind her, the 9 huge tails kept shaking, bringing a breeze in the cave. Thank you very much. Cloud Dance gently opened her lips and spat out these 2 words from her mouth. Woman Aleng, some inexplicable looking at Cloud Dance, asked, Thank you? What do you thank me for? Thank me for belittling your strength? Yunwoo no longer talks. She knows that it's useless to say anything at this time. What's really useful is her own strength. As soon as you turn your hand over, the black flame sword has disappeared in your hand. At the same time, the majestic fighting spirit and the force of elements in the body are carried at the same time. Feel the majestic power in his body constantly surging. Cloud Dance as if to find a reliable thing in general, the heart cannot help but rise a sense of security. This is the power that really belongs to you and can be used for you at any time. As long as she lives one day, she will rely on the power of survival. The purple fighting spirit emerges on the body and envelopes the whole body. The woman opposite was slightly stunned. Fighting spirit? Or purple? Huolinger was also a little surprised. When he saw the Cloud Dance fighting before, he just saw that her body method was very fast and decided that she was a master. Later, I learned that she was a summoner, but now, I saw that she had purple fighting spirit. Purple. But the highest level of fighting. It's really Sister Yun. She's so powerful. Huolinger looked at the purple figure and murmured. I feel proud of having such a cloud sister, but at the same time, I feel guilty. How can you have such a good sister? Surprised? The cloud danced around the corner of his mouth, his eyes were cold, and even his voice was cold. It's not just these that are worth your surprise, my strength it's only now. With that, Yunwoo's right hand stretched out, and several elements in his body appeared on his palm at the same time, constantly lengthening and extending, and finally turned into a colorful sword on his hand. This is a sword with 5 colors. Each color represents an element. There are 5 kinds of elements: thunder, fire, water, wind, and space. Attack the strongest thunder and fire, heal and ice water, the fastest wind, plus the same space elements as the owner of this tomb. This is the sword that Cloud Dance controls 5 elements to gather together, trying to find their balance, so that they will not repel each other. It is unique in the world. What? 5 elements? How is that possible? The woman opposite was shocked to see the sword in Yunwoo's hand. She couldn't say a word of surprise, as if she had seen something very incredible. Let's not talk about the rarity of the summoner, or the rarity of the summoner with multiple elements. Let's just talk about 5 elements. They are the most perfect combination in the world. What kind of talent can just have these 5 elements? It's just that she doesn't know. In fact, Cloud Dance doesn't have exactly 5 elements. She just has all the elements, but she knows that this combination can maximize the attack power. Why not? Don't you see it now? The words of Yunwoo are understated, and they are not proud of having so many elements. Because she clearly knows that no matter how many elements she has, whether she is a summoner or a warrior, the most important thing is always strength and realm. Strength cannot be improved, even if she has so many elements. Today must also be explained here. Sister Yun, even worse than the tomb owner, the owner of this tomb is just 2 elements. Huolinger stood at the bottom and looked up at Cloud Dance in shock. At this time, she almost thought that she was in a dream, because only in a dream can she know Sister Yun so well. The woman was shocked in the same place. For a moment, her heart was mixed, and for a moment, she was proud of the talent of Cloud Dance. Because only such a person can accept the master's inheritance, but she doesn't want her talent to surpass her master. In her opinion, her master should be the most powerful and the best human in the world. However, no matter whether she was shocked or how shocked she was, Yunwoo didn't mean to be shocked with her. Originally, to show their strength in this way is to make the other party stunned, and then to achieve their own goal. Now, the time has come. The woman in shock did not expect that Yunwoo would choose to attack at this time. The 5-color sword was not only as simple as it looked on the surface, but it was not very easy when Yunwoo was first used, so it was very careful. But then I found that the sword had many advantages. Because it is composed of 5 elements, it is not necessarily a specific form, and can be shortened or extended at any time according to one's own mind. Even can change the soft and hard, from time to time as a soft sword, and suddenly back to the ordinary sword, and finally even the cloud hand a swing, directly into a whip toward the woman tied up. What the hell is this? It's so weird. The woman was very uncomfortable by the weapon in Yunwoo's hand. There is a very important link in the battle, which is anticipation. It is necessary to determine where the opponent's next attack will be and what the weapon's attack range is. But when it comes to Cloud Dance, these 2 points are not applicable at all. Cloud Dance mouth a hook, through the moves just now, for their new weapons become more handy. However, in the face of this woman, there is no sense of relaxation. If there is an opportunity in the future, we must study more, but now we can only fight well. The power of the long sword, which contains 5 elements, is no weaker than that of the ancient sword. If you can add more elements, it will be more powerful. But Yunwoo knows that according to her current strength, she can only control 5 elements. If she adds another one, she is afraid that she will not be able to control it. At that time, she will not only not increase her power, but also make trouble for herself. In such a critical moment of life and death, she would not take risks. Damn it, the woman nearly swelled the Cloud Dance's move several times in a row, and all the huge 9 tails behind her spread out. But it's just a symbolic development. Because she doesn't think Cloud Dance is qualified for her to recite, she doesn't fully contact with the suppression of space here, and the suppression of her strength still exists in the tomb. But now she can't stand it anymore. If you don't open 9 tails, I'm afraid she will be suppressed all the time. Human. Don't be proud. I'll show you my real strength. The woman drinks a jiao, the body quickly retreats. Next, the huge tail behind suddenly soared, but there was no sense of disobedience behind the body, even because of the size of Billy, it was particularly compelling. Yunwoo's eyes were slightly heavy, and he could clearly feel that while the 9 tails were soaring, the whole cave seemed to be covered by a kind of prestige. It was a majestic and incomparable thunder element, as if it brought people into the thunder sea in an instant. Linger. You leave first. Cloud Dance head also don't return of account. She had a premonition that the next move was different from what she had just done. It was no longer a skirmish, but a move that could take someone's life at any time. Huolinger didn't speak, but his eyes were very stubborn and he didn't want to leave. She didn't want to be a burden, so she stepped aside. However, it does not mean that she will leave her alone to fight, and she will escape far away. She will see the end of the battle with her own eyes. Win or lose. At this time, Yunwu is not in the mood to manage Huolinger. She just thinks that Huolinger will listen to her own words and leave first. She must be so weak that she would be very afraid of such things. I didn't pay attention at the moment. What? Feeling something different from before, ready to retreat? The woman's smiling face is charming and her body is shining with silver. Looking at the cloud dance is like looking at a person who is about to die. From the beautiful lips spit out the words, but it is very heartless, it's just a pity, now also want to leave, it's too late. Lu Sha tribe. Chi Yis takes out the key from the guard's clothes, releases the woman tied in the pool, turns around and intends to go out, but is held by the woman behind him. Oh, wait. Are you saving me? The woman asked, holding Chi Yi's clothes. The water on her hand had a rotten smell. Chi Yis couldn't help frowning. And smell on oneself seemed to have no such flavor. So what? Chi Yis waved the woman's hand down from her clothes, frowned tightly, and seemed very upset. She turned and walked forward. No way. The woman suddenly ran forward and yelled in a loud voice. She grabbed Chi Yi's arm and said, if you save me and don't care about me, then if anything happens to me, it's yours and mine. Chi Knight, already face such as frost, looked back, looked at the woman one eye, the eye does not take a trace emotion, do I know you? Seeing Chi Knight go farther and farther, the woman turned her head and looked around. Almost all of them were soaked in water like herself. Some people have been in a coma, some people are still struggling in pain, some people seem to have stopped breathing, a cold shiver, hurried forward a few steps, a hug Chi Knight's arm. You can't do that, he said. Save people to the end, send Buddha to the west. You saved me. How can you put me in such a place? Chi Yis feels the blue veins on her forehead. She clenches her fists and gives up the idea of trying to knock the woman unconscious. She throws her away and goes on. Hello, hello. The woman rushed over and followed Chi Yis, but who are you? My name is Tao Li. Chi Yis clenched his teeth and continued to walk forward, seemingly deaf. Hello. I've already told you your name. You have to give it back. Women continue to nag around Chi Yis. In such a big cell, there are all women's voices, which makes the eyes of countless people around them look at such a person. Chi Yis was very upset. She turned her head, raised her hand and pressed the woman on the door of the cell. She said coldly, if you dare to say one more word from now on, believe it or not, I'll throw you into the cell and continue to lock you up. After listening to this sentence, Tao finally calmed down, covered her mouth carefully, and said nothing more. Chi Knight let go of Tao Li, turned to continue to walk, good for yourself. Tao Li looks at Chi Yi's back and opens her mouth. She just wants to say something, but suddenly remembers Chi Yi's words. She covers her mouth and chases Chi Yi's back in front of her. Chi Yis looks at the endless water prison, but his heart is very heavy. It seems that this tribe is the place to abduct foreigners and eat them. But it's strange that I haven't seen any inspectors at all. Two people continue to walk forward in this strange water prison. I don't know how long I have been walking. I finally see a separate room. There is no guard around the room and there is no sound. The door is closed. Chi Yis turns his head and looks around. It seems that no one is coming. In order to find out the real situation of the water prison, Chi Yis carefully steps forward, leans over and sticks his ear to the door, listening quietly. Inside, suddenly came a woman's cry and cry for help. Chi Yis was so scared that he turned pale. He stepped back and stood not far away, looking at the closed door in front of him. But at this time, he couldn't hear. Tao Li stood behind Chi Yis and looked at her curiously. Then she looked at the door. She went forward, looked up and down, and asked, is there anything strange about this door? Look, it scares you like this. Chi-Yi's pursed her mouth tightly and pondered for a long time. Suddenly she narrowed her eyes and said, "Go and listen. Can you hear the sound inside?" On hearing this, Tao Li suddenly came to the spirit. She suddenly laughed, ran to the door, put her ear on the door, and listened quietly. Chi-Yi's, who was watching coldly, quietly looked at Tao Li. All of a sudden, Dolly screamed, took 2 steps back, and then sat down on the ground. The humidity made her jump. "Who's there?" In the water prison, there was a sudden roar. In the distance, Chi's nerves were tense, and his instinctive backhand touched his snake sword. But he didn't find it. He looked around and found a stick. He went up and took the stick in his hand. He protected Tao Li behind him and said nothing. In front of him, 2 men suddenly appeared, holding a torch and walking towards the inside. When they saw Chi-Yi's, they were stunned. The man in front turned to look at the man behind and said, "Isn't this woman the one who has just been sent in?" "It seems so." Behind the man Lengleng nodded, "It seems that some silly." "You idiot, call someone. We can't beat this woman." The man in front slapped the man behind on the head, scared the silly man to shout, turned and ran in the direction of coming. "No. Kill the man is very speechless." Help forehead sigh, but suddenly a face serious look to Chi Knight, sneer, "Unexpectedly also let you escape." Seems to suddenly see the woman behind her, some surprised, "You actually released a?" "Of course." Chi Knight narrowed her eyes and held the stick tightly in her hand. It was obvious that this kind of weapon was not suitable for her. She was a little uneasy. She was afraid that with this woman, with this kind of weapon, she could not retreat completely. The man in front of him was not nervous at all. He laughed and shrugged, "Don't be so nervous. You know, if you are too nervous, the meat will not taste delicious. So, keep a happy mood." The man sighed, Nuzui toward the hut behind Chi-Yi's, with a smile on his face. "In fact, you can turn around and have a look in that room." Looking a little ugly, Chi-Yi's turned his head, glanced at the wooden door behind him, frowned and looked at the man. "What's that?" The man didn't speak, still smiled to see to Chi Knight, very proud appearance. But the woman behind Chi-Yi's has already swallowed saliva and walked toward the wooden door, carefully looking around. Finally, holding the door handle, creak, and pull the door open. But all of a sudden, the woman screamed wildly and quickly retreated behind her. But her left foot tripped her right foot, and she sat on the ground. Even so, she was still scared back, until she retreated to the gate of a water prison, grabbed the gate of the water prison, and began to cry. Finally, Chi Knight, also face pale, slowly turned around. This time, Chi-Yi's finally couldn't help it. Covering her mouth, she ran to one side and vomited out. Behind the door is a woman. No, to be exact, a woman who has been amputated, but is still alive. The ground was dyed bright red with blood dripping. The woman was dug out of her eyes and looked forward empty. She was hung on the wall. But still cry for mercy, "I beg you to let me go, let me die, I beg you." Chi-Yi's, who was shocked both physically and mentally, wiped his mouth, bit his teeth, raised his hand, picked up the stick and attacked the man. Scum. At this time, the man finally knew that he was afraid, because Chi's powerful aura made him feel suffocated. He stepped back 2 steps and turned to look behind him. Behind him, suddenly a large group of people rushed over, shouting, noisy voice and footsteps, let the man in front of a flash, laughing at Chi-Yi's. "I said, little girl, no matter how powerful you are, I will not believe that you can beat us and get out of here with this woman." As soon as the voice fell, Chi-Yo suddenly roared. Chi attacked the man's face. In the moment when the man raised his hand to block it, he took Tao Li to run to the back of the wooden house. "Don't run. Stop!" The man was so angry that the 2 men ran farther and farther before meeting each other, and said to the people around him, "Go, catch her for me. It's delicious. How can you just run away like this?" The people behind them should be in unison, running towards 2 people with swords. They didn't know how far they had run, until they slowly came to an open space. Tao Li finally threw away Qi Yi's hand, bent down, put her hand on her knee, and gasped violently, "No, no, I can't run anymore." "You'd better run if you want to run." Qi Yi's gasped for breath, pulled Tori's hand, and then pulled forward. "I said I can't run." Tao Li threw Qi Yi's hand away and sat down on the ground, saying nothing. "Anyway, we can't escape. There are so many people here. There are only 2 of us. What can we do?" Standing beside Tao Li coldly, Qi Yi looks at Tao Li for a long time. Finally, with a sneer, he raises his hand and cuts Tao Li's neck. The woman fell to the ground before she could shout. Qi Yi bent down to help the woman up and walked forward. He could have retreated, but she could not bear to think of the woman's tragic appearance in the hut. But in this way, it slows down its own speed. Sure enough, after a while, a group of people behind had caught up with them, surrounded them and pointed their swords at them. Qi Yi could only put down Tao Li in silence, observing the surroundings indifferently with his bare hands. "I advise you to give up your hand." One of the men said, "You know, none of our prey has ever come out." Around the men with a mocking smile to see Chi Night. Chi Night while a group of people in the east and west, and looked at the scenery around. Not far from the body, there was a door, shining from the outside. It can be seen that there must be a door to the outside world. However, it's difficult to solve the problems in front of these people. I turn my head and look at the comatose woman behind me, which is also the biggest trouble. Several men gradually surround Qi Yi in the middle, and no one intends to get out of the way. However, Qi Yi's strong aura almost makes these people kneel down. Sure enough, he had strong willpower, which made Qi Yi's heart sink. If it goes on like this, I don't know if I can escape from here smoothly. Maybe I have to implicate a woman. "Give it to me." A man yelled at countless people around him. In an instant, all the men around him swung their swords and rushed up. I have known for a long time that this woman is not simple, so no one is careless. However, these people did not pay attention to Qi Yi. She knocked down a group of people, turned around, picked up Tao Li on the ground, and rushed to the side door. The men were very unconvinced. They got up from the ground and ran towards Qi Yi. "I'm in trouble," Qi Yi thought in his heart, but he was looking around to find a weapon for himself. However, he only found an iron pole. "This is okay." Qi Yi puts Tao Li on the side of the door, takes the iron pole from the other side, packs the iron pole and attacks several people. Those people hurriedly alert, see Qi Night rushed over, a few men scared to escape. Qi Night rushed to empty. Damn it! Qi Night at this time in the heart is very depressed, but mercilessly, toward a man in front of the head hit. At this time, the Shao tribe was immersed in the spirit of extermination. Shangguan vomited blood and turned pale. Although so, but always protect in the South Palace body in front of, fiercely stare to go up the official way. "I advise you to still give up this idea, I won't let you succeed." Shangguanli laughed like he heard the funniest joke in the world. After a long time, he finally stopped. Suddenly, he looked up at Shangguan with a sneer on his face and said with a sneer, "If you say that to me, it's really beyond your ability." Shangguan grits his teeth, turns his head and glances at Nanganji. Nanganji, on the other side, is closing his eyes and breathing with ease. He turns his head and laughs ferociously, and stabs Shangguan with his sword. Shangguanli didn't pay attention to this attack at all. He put out 2 fingers to clamp Shangguan's sword body and flicked back. He saw Shangguan stagger back several steps and fall in front of Nangang Yi. His face was pale and transparent. Nangang Yi finished his work in a hurry, opened his eyes, stood up and protected himself in front of Shangguan. "Nanganji, it seems that you have to go with us this time, otherwise, Shangguan may have to explain here today." Shangguan Liyun Light said, "Of course, you can rest assured, you are now injured, there will be us to heal you, in this case, I may be able to put Shengguan away of life. Shengguan, who was lying behind Nan Gongyi, suddenly jumped up, gritted his teeth and said, "You think it's beautiful? Even if I give up my life today, I will." Before he finished speaking, Shengguanli suddenly raised his hand and patted it on Shengguan's chest. However, before the palm of his hand hit Shengguan's chest, Shengguan turned pale and fell on his knees, gasping. "To me, you are in such a state. It's really pitiful." "So, you don't have to boast anymore," he said. Suddenly raise a hand, will South Palace a grasp come over, buckle his neck, let him breathe. Nan Gongyi clenches his teeth and can't breathe anymore. He just pulls Shengguan's hand hard. However, the hand did not move. Shengguanli looked at Shengguan very proud. When Shengguan saw that Nan Gongyi had fallen into Shengguanli's hands, his heart sank and he rushed forward, but Shengguanli suddenly increased his strength. Nan Gongyi coughs twice and purses his lips tightly. "I think you'd better let him go." Shengguan clenched his fist and thought for a long time before he finally said slowly, "That thing is not on Nan Gongyi at all. We have been sent to other places separately. We don't know who it is." Shengguanli suddenly frowns. Looking at Nan Gongyi's pale face, Brick suddenly smiles coldly. He presses Nan Gongyi on the wall and raises his hand to Shengguan. Because of his great strength, Shengguan was knocked down on the wall before he could deal with it. With a roar, countless stones collapsed. Shengguan's mouth gushed blood and lay on the ground. His eyes were black. However, the fighting spirit in his body suddenly surged up. It seemed that he was about to break through. Shengguan moved in his heart and quickly turned over, sat up and closed his eyes. A kind of villager standing outside is watching the situation in Peijing Spring curiously. But when he heard the fighting inside, he didn't know what happened. Xiao Wu stood beside Xiao Xingjie with a look of remorse. He thought that if he hadn't let Lord Wuzong go out, it might not have happened. All of a sudden, a cloud rolled in the sky, and everyone was stunned on the spot. Xiao Xingjie was even more startled, pointing to the dark clouds in the sky and shouting, "Someone has broken through again." Yes, the Shengguan, who sits on the knee in Pei Jing Quan, absorbs the essence of Pei Jing Quan, and suddenly breaks through Emperor Wu under severe injuries. Looking at the Shengguanli in front of him and taking Nanganji to Peijing Spring, there was a burst of anger in Shengguan's heart. He only heard the roar and thunder in the sky. It seemed that he was going to split down. Shengguanli couldn't help looking up, looking at the black clouds in the sky, turned his head to Shengguan and said with a smile, "It's not bad. I've made a breakthrough, boy. I'll take this man with me." "Wait!" Shengguan suddenly roared, stood up and rushed to Shengguan. "It's not so easy to go. Say, already toward the chest of upper official Li Pats in the past. It's too much for me." Shengguan seemed a little impatient. He waved and patted Shengguan, "I don't have time to joke with you. Turn around and continue to walk forward." Shengguan doesn't give up. Looking at Tianlei, he seems to be about to split off. Suddenly he rushes forward, grabs Shengguanli's arm and grabs Nan Gongyi's arm. Curse, Shengguanli can only loosen Nan Gongyi, to avoid Shengguan's attack. Just at this time, a sky thunder cleaved towards Shengguan and Shengguanli. The silver light twinkles, the whole cave into a sea of thunder, as if the most beautiful color in the world. If the current environment is not too dangerous. I'm afraid Cloud Dance really wants to enjoy the beautiful scenery at this time. Forced me to use half the power of my real body. You are still the first in thousands of years. The enchanting voice of the woman is particularly cold. Although she has a smile on her face, she looks at the Cloud Dance as if she is looking at a dead man. Yunwu tightly pursed his lips and did not speak. He held the sword tightly in his hand and stared at the front without blinking. Overhead is a sky formed by lightning, and at the foot is a sea of lightning. Between the sky and the sea, countless thunder and lightning circulate with each other, making a zizi sound from time to time. I don't know if it's the reason why the opposite woman can control it. In this long time, there was no lightning hitting the clouds. It just kept flowing, as if it was disturbing something. Hum. The woman snorted coldly, as if laughing at Yunwu and pretending to be calm. I'll give you a chance. If you can take my move, I will admit that you are qualified to inherit the master's inheritance. Cloud Dance's eyes unchanged, as if did not hear the temptation of women's words in general. From the initial defeat of women to now, as long as you take the next move, you will be able to succeed. This is a big gap. If ordinary people naturally agree. But Cloud Dance is not stupid, she knows what kind of power that move contains. I'm afraid even if he used pure yang also can't stop. What's more, this kind of power is only half of the real power of the woman in front of her eyes. If there were no rules of this grave, how good would this woman's real power be? A move. Cloud Dance squinted, as if thinking for a long time in general, murmured. The woman's eyes flashed a touch of ridicule. Heart Cloud Dance, after all, or heart. Yes, as long as you take one move, you can achieve your goal. The whole tomb is yours. But if you can't take it, I'm afraid that after this move, you will lose everything. Don't talk about the body, even the soul will disappear. I only ask you, dare you? Dare you? The arrogant and domineering voice resounded throughout the cave, like provocation. Although the strength of Cloud Dance surprised her, after all, Cloud Dance was only the strength of Emperor Wu. It was too far from her master's realm. She was not willing to let go. Cloud Dance coldly looking at her, although the heart knows the difficulty of this move, but what she wants, will rely on their own strength to get. If today she can't get this woman's recognition, I'm afraid that even if she runs away, she won't have a chance with this grave. The most important thing is that she dances around and never deserts. Why not? Yunwu also responded in a loud voice, as always domineering and confident. By now, she had everything in mind. The fate of her Cloud Dance will not stop here. It's just a small move. Why can't it come down? Don't forget, she has a more important mission, well, if you dare. The woman said with a sneer. In her opinion, Yunwu is just like this. She gambles her life for a temptation. At present, the impression of Cloud Dance is a little worse. In the cave, thunder and lightning roared, like rain coming and wind filling the building. Since you dare, you can connect me. The woman cold drinks, 9 huge tails in the back of a meal, and then more quickly swing up. The woman's whole body flew directly into the air, looking down at the clouds. At the same time, the sky and sea formed by thunder and lightning also become thunderous in an instant, as if they would swallow up the clouds at any time. Thunderbolt, to this moment finally began. Cloud Dance's eyes are slightly heavy, looking at the woman's coquettish face, she suddenly chuckles and says, I think you are full of thunder and lightning here. It's too monotonous. Why don't I stick to you again? The woman was stunned, and then directly ignored the words of Cloud Dance, and only took her words as a joke, which was used to distract her. It was harmless. But Yunwu didn't think so. The next moment, she really helped the woman. Rich elements of water emerged from the body, and then, quickly divided into two, toward the lightning convergence of the sky and the sea. The woman's face was shocked, and her voice became sharper, you are crazy. Who doesn't know that lightning will spread faster when encountering water, and it will naturally make the attack power more powerful when used in combat? Yunwu is about to be attacked by this move, but she not only doesn't want to avoid it, but also adds water element in it. It's not death. What is it? Yunwu lowers her head slightly, with a crazy smile on her face. The action on her hand is ceaseless, and the water elements are converging in the thunder sea, with a look of self-seeking death. The woman's face became heavy. Originally my own thunder element was incomparably majestic. Now I added water element in it. I'm afraid that if I really attack, the whole cave will collapse. Although the tomb was arranged by the owner himself, and every place is very firm, after all, there has never been such a powerful battle. Now women are worried about the tomb. But now that the move has started, it's impossible to stop. Seeing that Yunwoo did not pay attention to her words, the woman took a deep breath and looked at Yunwoo coldly and said, "Since you want to die, I will help you. Take this move." Having said that, the sky and thunder sea resonated at the same time. The roaring sound seems to be in the boundless ocean, encountering a tsunami, but Yunwoo is just an ordinary fisherman boat. Being overturned by the vast ocean is just an instant thing. "Sister Yun." Huolinger cries out anxiously in his heart, but he tries to cover his mouth to keep himself from making a sound, for fear that Cloud Dance will be distracted because of his own problems. At the moment when the silver light resonates, the action on Yunwoo's hand stops, and his eyes are burning at the rolling silver light. Once again, Cloud Dance's palm is no longer pure water element. The purple fighting spirit takes the lead, wrapping the body tightly, adding the most solid defense for itself. Then, on the hands, the power of colorful elements constantly emerges, jumping in the palm. Blue, red, silver, green, white, 5 elements. It's the 5 elements that Cloud Dance used to gather into the sword before. The 5 elements are jumping in the hand, but this time, they are not converging into a sword, but are jumping steadily in the palm of the hand. I don't know what to do next. The woman's eyelids unconsciously jumped for a while. Looking at the Cloud Dance, she didn't understand what she was going to do. Did she just attack with the 5 elements at the same time? Or for defense at the same time? Although I don't know what Yunwoo wants to do, it doesn't affect her attack. When the whistling of the sky and sea reaches a certain stage, the woman drinks coldly, and the silver light is directly engulfed by the clouds. As if I could not swallow the sky and spit the earth. Almost. Cloud Dance looks at the species element on the hand and says softly. The next moment, when the silver light is shining, there is a crazy flash in Yunwoo's eyes. The 5 elements are instantly mixed together with a strong clap of both hands. Once upon a time, she used element balls mixed with several elements as an attack, and the explosive force caused by the repulsion between each element is unparalleled. Now, at this critical juncture, Cloud Dance can only think of this move. When the palm unfolds again, a 5-color ball leaps up on both hands. Cloud Dance a little thought, followed by a left hand, and is an element of jumping in the palm. Cloud Dance without hesitation directly put the 6th element into the ball. Poo poo. When the 6th element is shot into the ball, Yunwoo directly gushes out with a mouthful of blood, and a burst of chi and blood in his chest, but the madness in his eyes is more intense. 5 elements, if she can maintain the balance of the situation, not hard to achieve the maximum integration. And 6 elements, Cloud Dance is the first experiment, she knows she can do it, but the premise is that she is injured. If you lose 800, you can hurt 1000. In such a critical moment, as long as we can survive, even such tactics must be used. In the glittering silver light, women can't see what action Cloud Dance has. I just felt that after a long time, there was no movement there. I thought that the other side was ready to take this move. There was a hint of irony in my eyes. How can Emperor Wu's defense block her attack? Looking at the oncoming silver light, he rushed towards himself, as if to swallow himself in. Compared with that, the ball in his hand was very vulnerable. But Cloud Dance doesn't mean to be afraid at all. There was only a layer of purple fighting spirit on her body to protect her, and all the others were blocked on the small ball in her hand. She knows a word, the best defense is attack. Therefore, this time, she put all her hopes on the attack in her hands. Success or failure depends on this. Silver finally arrived in front of Cloud Dance's right hand gently raised, as if inadvertently an action in general. Without any lethality, the small ball on the hand was thrown out immediately, crossed an arc with or without, and went away with the silver light. In the overwhelming momentum of the silver light, a 6-color ball is very eye-catching, but also very small. What's that? The woman's sharp eyes saw the existence of the 6-color ball, and she was stunned. When did the ball appear? Why don't you feel it all the time? Even now, the woman has seen the existence of the ball, but she still doesn't feel her breath. But in the next moment, the woman finally understood what it was. Originally wanted to control the silver light easily destroyed the ball, but when the lightning came into contact with the colorful ball, it was still a silent ball, suddenly changed shape. Six-color ball constantly shaking, as if shivering in the rainstorm of a lonely boat, but the shaking makes women very uneasy, always feel like what is going to happen. No, I have to destroy him. The woman's brow a wrinkly, coldly say. Immediately after, more urged the silver light toward the six-color ball attack in the past. At this time, the six-color ball shaking suddenly stopped, as if to the extreme of tolerance in general, and finally broke out. It's like heaven and earth are falling apart, and it's like back to Pangu's grand opening of heaven and earth. That force seems to be able to urge all the elements in the world, so that the whole universe can be destroyed to the point of all desolation. Women just feel that they have never encountered such a strange power, even when they are with their masters. Only at this time did she know what the ball was, a ball of 6 elements. The mutual exclusion between elements is the most intense, not to mention the 6. When these 6 forces all burst out, each element is pulling the power of crying ghosts, as if it can pull out every element in the whole space. At that moment, it seemed that the 6 elements in the surrounding environment were boiling up. Women can't imagine that this kind of power would come from the hand of Emperor Wu. But it wasn't just that shocked her. If you want to take my move with this power, then even if you go on, I'm afraid you will become a useless person. After a short shock, the woman forced herself to calm down and uttered this sentence coldly. After the silver light, the cloud dances coldly looking at the explosion in front, and the body quickly retreats. After listening to the woman's words, the corners of his mouth hook, released a response, I give you more than these surprises. As soon as the woman's eyes sank, she didn't know what else Cloud Dance would do next, but at this moment, it's better to suppress the riot as soon as possible. At the moment, the woman immediately mobilized most of her strength to press towards the explosion place, but then, the woman found something that shocked her even more. The silver light flickered with blue water element light, which was the power of Cloud Dance in the initial injection. I thought that the power would make my attack more powerful, but I soon found that it was not the same thing at all. The water never joined the women's attack, they have been controlled by the Cloud Dance. Up to now, Cloud Dance simply let go, no longer to maintain the balance between water elements and lightning, directly let go, in an instant, the repulsive collision between water elements and lightning elements in the whole cave. Taking the explosion of the 6-color ball as the center, the sound of explosion was heard one after another. Different from the 6-color ball, these explosions are from the inside of women's attack, constantly weakening women's attack power. How could that be? Women can't believe looking at everything in front of them. She didn't realize the purpose of Cloud Dance just now. If it wasn't for what happened now, she even thought that Cloud Dance was really stupid to add water element to increase attack. A coquettish face is full of disbelief, but the fact happened in front of us, even if we don't believe it, we can only believe it. In contrast, Yunwoo on the other side looks pale, as if she has consumed too much strength after finishing these 2 things, as if she will faint on the ground at the next moment, but her face is still not convinced. Well, what's up? I didn't let you down, did I? Yunwoo raises her head and looks at the woman's position through the silver light. Although we can't see the woman's figure and expression, we can see the 9 huge tails shaking. From seeing the 9 tails, Yunwoo knew the identity of this woman 9-tail fox, only exist in the legend of Warcraft. That is only in ancient times there will be Warcraft, to now has basically disappeared. At least live so long, Cloud Dance has never seen any human with 9-tail fox news, let alone adult, even if it is not a cub. It is said that the 9-tailed fox is one of the famous beasts. It lives on the Green Hill and has various attributes. So when Yunwoo knew the identity of a woman, she wanted to make a contract with her. Now it's time to take advantage of this fight to achieve her goal. Hearing the indifferent voice of Yunwu, the woman calmed down, looked at the direction of Yunwu, and said, "The water element is just for interference, and uses the element ball to interrupt my attack. But obviously, your plan failed. My moves don't end when it's over." The cloud dances around the corner of the mouth and no longer talks. From the beginning, she never thought that with these, she could completely block the attack. Whether it's the elemental ball or the water element, it's just to weaken it. Up to now, it really weakens women's attack to the point that they can resist. Although she is very weak at this time, don't forget that she still has a card to play. The woman mobilized the remaining strength. Although her strength was less than 1/3 of the original strength after 2 times of interference, it was enough to deal with a little Emperor Wu. Next, don't take it lightly anymore. Cloud Dance looks at the front with burning eyes. She knows that the next thing is the key to decide whether she is alive or dead. The attack weakens the opponent's attack. Next, it's time to test the defense. The final attack is finally coming. At the same time, a majestic force in the body was directly mobilized by the Cloud Dance, forming a layer of defense in addition to the purple fighting spirit on the body. That black energy as long as a little bit can be comparable to a lot of fighting spirit, as if all the energy of the Emperor in general, with unparalleled domineering. In the desert. When Meng Bai put on his clothes and looked out of the window, he found that he was still standing in the center of the desert. The endless golden sand of the desert was blowing away with the strong wind, with the desperation that made him afraid. Originally, he was rescued by a group of injured people who came out to do business. Now he is lying in their car. These people erect the felt mat they are carrying on the car to avoid the wind and light the fire. They are baking things. When they turn around and see Meng Bai standing in front of the window, a man comes to him with a smile and hands him a piece of meat, saying, "Eat, the road is still far away." Meng Bai was stunned and looked down at the meat delivered by the man. He smelled the fragrance from the meat in a moment, and his stomach could not help crying. So he took the meat and gave thanks to the man. He got out of the car and sat in the middle of a group of people. A man was chatting with people around him. Suddenly he saw Meng Bai and asked with a smile, "Little brother, how did you come here? Why are you fighting with a polypod?" Meng Bai bit down a piece of meat, scratched his head and said, "My friend and I got separated. When I opened my eyes, I was here. Then I met a multi-legged insect." Several people sighed, poured wine for Meng Bai, handed him a felt mat, and said, "It's 3 or 4 days' journey from the nearest village. It's too far, so you should keep your strength well. I think you are seriously injured now." Meng Bai was very grateful in his heart, but looking at the endless desert and these people who seemed to be in a hurry, he hesitated. If he followed them, he might meet someone. But I don't know where I will be taken. If I go further away from my friends, it's not very bad. Looking up at the people in front of them, they are chatting enthusiastically. It seems that they are not worried about what kind of problems they will encounter in the desert. Meng Bai patted the man around him on the shoulder, turned around and asked, "Brother, I want to ask you, do you know what more dangerous warcraft is in this desert besides the multi-legged insect?" The man drank a mouthful of wine, let Meng Bai pick up the bowl and touch himself. Then he raised his head to drink, narrowed his eyes, took a breath, put down the bowl, patted Meng Bai on the shoulder, and said, "Little brother, you can rest assured, follow us, and make sure you won't be hurt." Meng Bai smiles and drinks a bowl of wine. Suddenly, his whole body warms up, and even the wound on his body suddenly becomes less painful. Shaking his head, sighed, "Brother, it's not that I don't want to follow you, but because I have to find friends, so I can't stay long. Now I just think that maybe I can meet my friends in the desert, maybe they are just like me, and they are facing such a dangerous warcraft." The man suddenly nodded, drank a mouthful of wine, loudly let people around stop talking, listened to him say, "I say you, this little brother just came to the desert, you quickly tell him, what kind of things will happen in the desert?" People around stop chatting. In a moment, they look at Meng Bai with a serious face. Some even frown. Deep in the desert, things are not as simple as you think, you know, boy. The man around him patted Mengbai on the shoulder, took a big sip of wine and said, "You don't know how many people we have died in the desert." Turning to look around, he said, "These people, who haven't lost their families." Those people, all silent. For a long time, a man finally said, "In this desert, the multi-legged insect is probably the lowest level of Warcraft, but every year because of this thing, countless people in each tribe will die. I've seen fire lizards." There was a man with his head down, beside the fire, on his bright and dark face, inexplicably serious and murderous. "That thing ate my woman." It was 3 people long, and it could spout flames from its mouth, as if it was living under the desert. Mengbai sits beside them, listening quietly, drinking wine and eating meat. People around him seem to have been triggered, and they all begin to tell. Mengbai couldn't help but frown. How much danger is there in the desert? He didn't know where his friends were and whether there was any danger. Until the sky turned pale, the cold night finally faded away, and soon the rising sun came to the horizon, and the whole desert soon became hot. The merchants put away the things they took out, put them back in the car, packed up their bags and prepared to leave. A man came up to Mengbai and said, "Little brother, do you have any plans now?" Mengbai was silent for a moment. He still gave a bitter smile and said, "Thank you for saving my life, but I have to go to my friend. I hope we can meet again." Then he turned and walked towards the desert. Boy behind him, the man suddenly stopped him, ran over, put a heavy fox fur dress and a bag of herbs into his arms, and said, "It seems that this night, you can't shake your heart to take risks at all. Well, I wish you a good journey. This dress is for you to stay on the road. The desert at night can't live without thick clothes. This package of herbs can help you improve your state and heal your wounds. It's all fate to meet each other in the desert. You take risks alone. This is what I can help you, and the rest is up to you." Mengbai was so moved that he didn't know what to say. He bowed to thank him and left without looking back. Quietly walking in the desert, soon, behind the motorcade gradually away from sight, until disappeared in the desert. Mengbai's ear, suddenly there is only a whir of wind, and a silence. That night, it was like a dream. After walking for a distance, Mengbai found a small oasis, took some water there, sat on the ground and closed his eyes. Before the body of the explosion debris have been cleaned up by these people, leaving only some basically will not hurt the wound. The fighting spirit in his body is more than that of yesterday, which makes Mengbai very happy. He opens his eyes, sits up, and begins to plan how to kill some Warcraft and store some food to prepare for the hard journey. Thinking about this, I began to wander around the oasis. At noon, the hot weather made him very uncomfortable. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and vomited. Then he ran to the water and drank some water. He saw that there was no Warcraft at all. So cut down 2 pieces of cactus and put them in the bag. The water in the middle is the most abundant, although its juice is not very good. Go around the puddle and continue to the desert. Suddenly, the water behind him clattered, and Mengbai stopped and turned around. At a glance, I saw something on the surface of the water, and then disappeared. Mengbai's heart moved, turned and walked quietly towards the water. His sword had been drawn out and put behind him, waiting quietly. Sure enough, for a long time I didn't hear much of the sound from the shore. The thing came out again. A pair of eyes looked at the water and then climbed up. Seeing that it was time, Mengbai quickly raised his sword and prepared to cut it down. This thing, suddenly out of the water, is so huge. Mengbai looked up at the Warcraft, which had to have 4 heights of his own, which made him swallow. Suddenly, I remember last night, a big brother said the thing called Shueisha eel. This thing stood up like a dragon and was several people tall. It could spray water in its mouth or curl up in any small puddle to make a living by eating sand. At the thought of not eating meat, Mengbai was suddenly relieved, but laughed. If you don't eat my meat, I want to eat your meat. Fly up and chop at the head of that thing. The water sand eel seemed to feel the danger, so it quickly withdrew, shrunk rapidly, curled up in the water, and only showed a pair of eyes. Mangbai didn't give up and cut his eyes in the water. Hear the sound of water, the water suddenly a ripple, followed by a big tail toward Mangbai. Mangbai complained in his heart and turned to avoid it. He just avoided the tail in front of him. Then, a water arrow hit Mangbai's back. To avoid it, Mangbai took it hard, and his face turned white. He was surprised that the power of this thing was so great, and he cut it into the water with his backhand. Water sand eel seems very angry, suddenly stand up from the water, toward Mangbai spray sleep, suddenly countless water bombs toward Mangbai hit, quickly find a cactus, squat behind. However, Mangbai underestimated the power of the water sand eel. After a burst of water bombs came, the cactus behind him was beaten to pieces, and all the thorns on the cactus flew into his body. Let Mangbai take a breath of cool air. Luck forces the thorn out of his body and moves it towards the Shueisha eel in front of him. After all, Shueisha eel was not smart enough. Suddenly, Mangbai cut a blood hole on his greasy body with a sharp roar, and the blood poured out. The whole body of Shueisha eel kept twisting, and then fell into the water with a plop. Mangbai goes forward in a hurry, stabs Shueisha eel to death with a sword, cuts the meat from Shueisha eel, scrapes off the skin of Shueisha eel, makes a water bag, and fills a bag full of water. Then he carries water and is ready to go on the road. However, I didn't expect that the wind in the sky suddenly became stronger. As soon as it came out of the oasis, the yellow sand in the desert began to block out the sun. The rolling yellow sand suddenly turned the halo over the desert into a faint yellow, and the clear sun in the sky suddenly turned into a fuzzy yellow. All of a sudden, a gust of wind, with yellow sand like a knife, came. Mangbai quickly covered his face with his hand, and the wind and sand hit his arm. Although he was separated from his clothes, he also showed all the blood stains on his arm. It's too windy. Mangbai felt that he couldn't move forward, so he had to sit on the ground, close his eyes and wrap himself up with fighting spirit. Suddenly, the pain relieved a lot, but the blood on the body was one by one, even the whole skin could not be seen. Mangbai breathed and felt the wind blowing. He didn't know when the storm would pass. If it went on like this, he would die of exhaustion. Just thinking about this, suddenly, his keen hearing made him hear something crawling towards him not far in front of him. The speed was surprisingly fast, and it seemed that he was already in front of him in a twinkling of an eye. Mangbai suddenly opened his eyes, raised his palm and cleaved to the warcraft in front of him. Suddenly, a big mouth towards Mangbai opened, but in an instant Mangbai was repulsed, like just eat people's blood, let Mangbai a moment later. However, there were huge sandstorms all around him, and he could not see the situation in front of him at all. However, if not unexpected, he might have met the flaming lizard in one of the population. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.